Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 18th episode of Tales of Tamriel. Boy, do we have a fun show for you guys, but first, I wanted to announce that Tales of Tamriel will be giving out a copy of the Imperial Edition version of Elder Scrolls Online. That was generously donated to us from an amazing fan of the show, Harkineer. He's an awesome guy. Details to follow in the coming weeks, as we will not be giving it away on this show. Sorry, guys. But I guess we want to figure out the best way to hand it out, and then we'll announce it right here on Tales of Tamriel. So keep listening for details on this giveaway, and thank you, Harkineer, for such a generous donation to the show. So whoever wins, we'll definitely need to send him a whisper in game to thank him as well. Alright. Oh, also, time for another shameless plug for Malburn. He is an awesome guildie who actually helped me out with crafting by making me all of the trait items I was missing for researching. And I think I pretty much stole all of his materials in doing so. So I want to thank him for being, well, he's just awesome. Sadly, my bank space and my overloaded alts don't thank him as much as I do because they have no room whatsoever. Okay, now that I'm done gushing about how amazing our guildies are, it is time to introduce my co-host for the evening. As always, she who steals all the things, Thaís. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good, very good. Kind of sleepy and cold, but I'm good. How about you?
Cold? I'm like sunburnt over here and I'm burning up.
Let's see, I am in a hoodie and my most comfiest blanket, so yeah, I'm cold.
Alright, for the people listening to the podcast, let me set the stage here a little bit. I am over here in a pair of shorts, no shirt on, and I'm sweating up a storm. I have a fan on. If I could, I'd have a personal fan on me, but, reverb from Mike, so I can't do that. And I'm sweating up a storm. Conversely, right across the room, about 3 feet from me, as she sits over at her computer, she's got a hoodie on, sweatpants, she's got a blanket she's sitting on, and is that a fleece blanket? Yeah, it's the fleece blanket wrapped around her. So, yeah, news. Woman cold. Anyway, alright. We also have a special guest host this evening, Deltia of Deltia's Gaming. How are you doing this evening, good sir?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Doing real good.
Excellent. I want to thank both of my hosts for joining me this afternoon. Let's roll into game news, shall we? First off, we're going to get done with the community events that they keep doing. First off, they had another guild spotlight for the guild, the Heirs of Hircine. Yes, I did not pronounce the actual name because it is a European German-based guild, but that's what their guild actually means. And while I do have German heritage, I do not speak German very well. I took Spanish, and unfortunately, I didn't learn anything. I had a cute Spanish teacher, though. These guys, actually, I kind of like them. I looked through some of their stuff. They had some interesting things going on. They are Aldmari Dominion. They have, as of 4/19, 77 members, and they are all about Hircine. I wonder if they force you to be a werewolf. Deltia, what do you think about that?
Well, I think so. It would be kind of cool for RP purposes, and I looked at their video. It looked pretty cool. So they got something going on. Keep it up.
Right on. I know you were looking over here at me, Thaís. Did you see the video that they had on? That they did? It was like a guild event.
Oh, I heard you listening to it, but I wasn't paying attention to watching it.
Even if you were just listening, it's not like you'd understand what they were saying anyway, because it was all in German. But they did like a little flash mob where they stood in Volkgard, the first city. There was probably like 20 of them just standing there. All of a sudden they started doing push-ups and crunches and stuff like that. It was pretty funny to watch.
I thought I kept hearing the word push-up, but I'm like, I don't know if that's our word push-up or if it's, their word for something.
You'll notice as you were watching it, it was all German and / push-up. So they said the actual / command in English. It was funny. So if you're interested in reading about them, I would say you probably need to speak German in order to actually, probably converse with them. But if you're interested, you could check out the official Guild Spotlight on the official webpage, ElderScrollsOnline.com. The second of their group are community events, I guess. Actually, I don't know if this is considered a community event, but they kind of started at the same time they did all the other community event programs, the Lore Master Archives. Last week they did one on the undead in Tamriel, and this week it is the Mysteries of the Mundus Stones. I'm a lore nut. How about you guys? Thais, you first. Are you a lore nut?
Oh, definitely. As anyone could probably tell with how I read the books and just love the reading section.
How about you, Deltia?
Oh, huge, yeah. That's kind of why I got turned on your guys' podcast with reading the lore and recommending that book that you guys did. I bought that right after you recommended that, so definitely. Nice.
I generally don't read these because a lot of them we read during the books, and I'm not going to read all of it, but I kind of thought it was weird that they added a Ask Us Anything, if you will. There was only 2 questions, but I kind of want to read these, so I'll read the question, and Thais, if you wouldn't mind reading the answers, it's right there. How many Et Ada are there actually? Are there millions, thousands, only a handful? This is a little bit complicated because when you hear about creation, it only mentions a handful of Et Ada. But there are tons of Daedra and Oblivion and millions of stars in the sky from the Magna-Gi that escape Mundus. That's from Jack Wagon Jacob. What an interesting name.
The Et Ada are the original spirits whose existence predates creation of the Mundus. Those with a more Nuic or orderly valence become the Aedra, who sacrifice themselves to give birth to the mortal arena. Those with a more Pedomic or chaotic valence become the Daedra, who inhabit the metamorphic realms of Oblivion. And the Magna-Gi, who left both Mundus and Oblivion, but are said to be capable of visitation. To encompass or number the Et Ada is a futile endeavor, for they are beyond mortal comprehension, and our perceptions of these beings are but faulty shadows of their complex reality. Many a savant has been driven mad by the attempt.
It's kind of neat. It seems like the original person assumed all the Et Ada were the Aedra, but as they said, the original spirits, you could pretty much classify them as any who existed prior to the creation of Mundus are the mortal plane. And I think that other word was Patamaic, because it's referring to Anu and Padme, the 2 original forces.
Thank you, because I looked at that and I was stunned for a moment. That's not an actual English word. What am I supposed to do with that?
The only reason I know is because of all the lore, and I know that's specifically what they were referring to, Anu and Padme. So, yeah. Awesome. Next question. What the heck could these Celestials be? From Darkweaver.
We count on you, O Darkweaver, to prove worthy of your name in unraveling the dark enigma of the Celestials. Steel yourself, then, to face the perils of Craglorn, and wrest from the Celestials the secrets of their origins. Please send your findings to Lady Cinnabar, Tower of the Fifth Doctrine, Tanith, Hammerfell, and I will turn them into literature that will astound all Tamriel. And may Unsai's bright blade guide you.
Alright, Deltia, was that, or was that not an in-game lore troll answer?
Yeah, that's kind of trollish, but I'm glad you guys touched on that because I was reading the lore online, and yeah, that was kind of confusing, the Aedra, Daedra, and stuff like that, so that kind of cleared it up, but yeah, she knows her lore.
Indeed. Now, of course, there's further readings on this, and I'm not going to touch it because we often will within our lore book section, but if you are interested in lore, I've already read through it twice, and I do recommend anyone who is interested in the lore to check out these Lore Master Archives. With a world as in-depth as Nirn, it's awesome to see everything that they were putting into this game. Moving on to the next article we had. Thais, you just listened to this today, didn't you? Yeah. Dan Bull released an alliance anthem for Daggerfall Covenant. Delty, have you listened to this?
No, I haven't. I don't. Another YouTube guy. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to.
It's actually really good. We were listening to it. It's really interesting. He did the. I remember listening to the Skyrim epic rap, and then I guess he did one for Dawnguard as well. It's definitely entertaining because he uses the main theme the entire time. So I would definitely recommend actually listening to it because it cracked me up.
I was laying in bed with a headache and he starts playing this in the background and I'm laying there thinking, what in the world is this? And after it was done, all I could say from, my head hidden in the pillows is, that was awesome. He actually shows a lot of skill to be able to rap the way he did, to the music that he did. I would definitely agree in saying that this is something you should check out.
All right, moving on to the next section. This was posted on Twitter earlier, and since I know Face avoids Twitter like the plague, what is this Twitter you speak of? But the official Elder Scrolls Online Twitter, and there went a motorcycle, the official online Elder Scrolls Online Twitter page actually posted an image of their ESO poster collection that's supposed to have like 40 different posters in it. And wow. One of them, I think they gave us a brief. I just drew a blank on the exact word here, but a preview. There we go. I don't know why I drew a blank on that word. A preview of their first poster, and it's actually the Brett and Archer from all the different trailers, and it looks actually really cool. Since I already know Thais didn't really see it, Deltia, did you see this on Twitter?
No, I didn't. I want to get those posters. Are they like big size? Are they little size? Or whatever? Do you know more about that?
From what I could see, there's supposedly 40 of them, so I'm going to imagine they would be a standard wall size poster. What is that? It's 24 by 36, I think. That's the standard wall size poster.
Why would you think that I would know that?
Because, I don't know, you kind of give me that air of punk rocker kind of girl with like you go into a room and there's just posters everywhere, which I remember when we first started dating, there were like little posters all over your room, and most posters are an average size, so I figured you would know. Obviously you never paid attention to the dimensions of the things you hang on your walls.
That includes numbers, and as you know, I can barely count to 10, so no.
Indeed. All right. Well, I'm actually interested in seeing that when they do come out. They're not out yet, as I'm sitting here staring at the merchandise page, and I do not see them. There is some... Ooh, they have a sale going on now, though. All right, before I spend money, I'm going to move off of that. So the big news this week, I'm sure I probably don't even need to say it, Craglorn was released. So... Well, first off, I don't want to get too far into it yet, but Deltia, what level is your character?
As we speak, I'm VR5, about to be VR6.
Excellent. Someone who actually probably could get into it. We're very close now. We'll save our levels for the actual Tales section. First thing, let's go over the 1.1.2 Craglorn patch notes. We're not going to read all of them, but we're going to go through a couple. First off, for the overview, as they say, welcome to Elder Scrolls Online version 1.1.2. This version contains our first major content update, the Adventure Zone Craglorn, as well as many other fixes and refinements. You'll need allies to take on new challenges. Craglorn's quest and exploration are designed for groups of 4 veteran rank 10 plus characters. Oh dear heaven. You can enter Craglorn and play the content earlier than veteran rank 10, but I highly don't recommend that. We've also added our first trials in Craglorn, the 12-player adventures meant to test even the strongest of heroes. In trials, your team will have a limited number of resurrections to use as you attempt to reach the final boss. If you finish the trial quickly, you might earn a place on the leaderboards and receive extra rewards. Another new feature, Death Recap, aka the fail meter. That's what we're calling it. So this screen will help you understand what contributed to your death and the hints to help improve your next performance and stop being a baddie. Alongside the new content, we're deploying bug fixes and improvements to make your adventures in Tamriel even better. You'll see fixes for quest and skill line abilities, updates to skills, or systems, and quests in Cyrodiil, including bonuses for being outnumbered, and much more. Alright, so first off,
side note, as Ag read it was not how it was written, just so that people know that the writers weren't calling everybody baddies. Ag was actually calling you baddies, but continue.
no, I'm putting a petition in where everyone going to sign it. It's going to be change.org/change name of death recap to baddie meter.
That's pretty funny.
Alright, so we're going to talk about that. First off, I want to point something out here. Anyone notice that the field of view slider was not included in this, even though they said it was going to be in credit or Group 1, Update 1? No?
I heard about it, but yeah, I didn't. It's not important to me since I'm a PvPer and play in third person. So, but they added a lot of stuff that wasn't listed too. To be honest, to be fair with them too. So,
yeah,
but no.
I'm just a little surprised because I know they were kind of toting it as coming out with Update 1, but it seems like it was not ready. Yeah. I would imagine that's probably what happened, or else they would have had it in here.
When I play in first-person view, I don't have a problem with how it looks, so I did not take notice that it wasn't implemented.
Right. Well, it's all personal. See, here's the thing. This is the field of view is very dependent on person to person. It's almost saying like being able to read a book in a car. You can't do that. I can. I don't have a problem with it. It's just how your body reacts. All right, let's move into some of the big changes and updates. Big elephant in the room, Craglorn. So yeah, located between Cyrodiil and Skyrim. I don't know why they actually said that, because technically speaking, it's between Cyrodiil and Hammerfell, but High Rock rather. New quest is available in Mournhold, Wayrest, and Elden Root, which will lead you to the zone. Actually, if you've noticed, if you've been watching Zone Chat, that's pretty much the main thing I see is how do you start Craglorn? Delty, have you actually been to Craglorn yet, or are you still scared?
No, I'm not scared, but I don't. There's so much content in this game. It's staggering, to be honest with you. Like, I know they released it, and I'm like, who is even ready for it? I'm trying to get through all the stories. The stories are just fantastic. The end game PvE and PvP, it's going to be there, so I'm not in a hurry to blow through everything and get there. So no, I haven't.
Right. Well, that's the same thing with Thais and I. I mean, I spent 6 years in World of Warcraft at max level. It'll still be there. You know what I mean? So I'm enjoying the story as I go along. 6 years of raiding at max level, and there's plenty of time. I see myself a lot of time to do the end game stuff. All right. So speaking of end game stuff, that's a nice segue. Trials, Helroth Citadel, and Arthurian Archive are now open. 12 players grouped together for these difficult challenges to earn new loot and a place on leaderboards. You can use the group finder tool, but who would want to do that, to locate others for your trial group. But be warned, you'll need excellent coordination and skills. Hey, they warned us. And I don't know about you, but I've never would want to go, I guess, using a looking for group tool to find people for hard content. In Warcraft, I did not go just put up a raid finder and let anyone join my groups if I was doing heroic mode stuff. Maybe normal mode if I knew I was just carrying people, but never anything like this. Let's go on. Groups begin with 36 soul reservoirs. That's down from 50. Originally, when they announced that they were playing with, I think, 50 or 60. It was 50 or 60. I can't remember. It equaled out to 5 deaths per person, so I think it's 60. And now they took it down to 36. Yeah. So that's 3 deaths. They went from 5 to 3. So apparently, Thais, what do you think about that?
I'm okay with that. I really am, because it means that you have to be even that more careful and precise with your movements and your abilities to make sure you do not die. There is a very small, very little room for error in this, and it makes it exciting. I'm sad we're, like, as you were saying, oh, it'll be there. I'm sad we're not there yet because I want to try it.
Right, right. I am a little bit. I'm hoping to get the VR rank soon. I'm excited to do the grind. I know it's weird, but I actually am. Deltia, what do you think about that? 36 from 60.
Say again, 36 to 60?
The Soul Reservoirs, the dropping of it.
Wow. This game is difficult. It really is for people. You say that you can basically play whatever you want. You don't have to be a tank, melee, or DPS, and that's true. But when you get up to VR rank, I mean, you'll get smashed if you don't have a really good character with tons of passives. If you're trying to do Kragorn, you're going to have to fulfill a typical standard role, or you will die. With that being said, I really like the trials, except I don't like the group size. I don't want 12 people. I'm into small group content, which they did announce they're going to have some four-man stuff. But for me, I'm going to hold off until I'm really overpowered in VR 12. And just like you said, you're playing WoW for 6 years. It's going to be there, so I'll take my time. There's no rush, and I'm not going to set any world records right now. So I'm just having fun enjoying the game.
Right. Yeah, it's. I don't even think I have. There's not even in our guild, the Friends of Family Tales of Tamriel guild. I think there's only a handful of people that are in the veteran ranks. I don't even think we could field 12 people, even if they were all in the same alliance.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that's kind of interesting. Trial quests give special rewards the first time they're completed each week. So it seems like there's weekly quests. When entering a trial via means other than the door, you will be sent to a way shrine. This includes logging out and back in. This will not affect players in the trial staging area. So I'm assuming that means you can't just bring people in and they're ported to your group, or however that. I don't really know why that would be important to state, other than if you're going for a record time. Albeit, I think you could pretty much count that that attempt as down and out if you have to replace a player. I mean, I've been in hardcore raiding guilds, and when you were going for attempt, everyone was on their A game and ready to roll. You lose a player, that attempt is wash. You just, lost it for that night. So, let's see. Combat with any monster in trial will block resurrection for group members until combat ends. That's neat. And there's a known issue. The teleport pads in the Arthanian archive will sometimes fail to work, preventing your group from completing the trial. Man, that must really suck if you got a top time.
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of weird they would release it with that error. I guess it's sometimes. Interesting. What do you guys think of the trials? I'm gonna stop here for a little bit and let's talk about trials a little bit. I mean, there's the little leaderboard. The next few steps talk about the leaderboard, how it will trigger at the end of the trial where you no longer complete or continue. The timers used for leaderboard scoring only. Leaderboards are updated periodically, approximately every 5 minutes, so they not be accurate 100% of the time. Unless you're looking for to the second counts, I guess it really wouldn't matter. You can see your best times for all trials via the leaderboard. You can see the trial leaderboard of the top 100. And friends and guild masters will be notified via the notification window when you improve your best time. Well, that's really neat. I like that. But trials. Have either of you watched the live streams of the trials?
I have not.
No?
I have not. I don't want to ruin it. It looks really fun and stuff, and I don't want to see people doing really hard content, like one-shotting it. So. Real quick on the thoughts of the trials, PvE leaderboards, that's awesome. That will actually get me to stop PvPing and doing this. So I think it's a fantastic idea. Making weekly incentives, meaning people have to keep doing it, that's a great idea. Not just, we set the best time, now we're done playing the game. So they're giving something people to do, to work towards, to get their name on the board, which that's, we're playing MMO, that's what we want to do. So, I think it's great content, I really do, and I'm going to try it, and I usually don't PvE, so it's going to be good.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely like that. I think we talked about this a few episodes past when they first discussed it. And the one game that I know that did this before, which I don't know if you really want to call it an MMO or not. I mean, it was, but it's almost like a lobby base. The original Guild Wars, all their dungeons had dungeon times that you could see the best of all time, the best of this month, or whatever the case may be. The concept of leaderboards for dungeons is not a new one, but it's definitely an awesome one, because World of Warcraft adopted this same thing. Now, this Guild Wars 2 is the first that I know of that done it. Now, I could be wrong. I've been playing MMOs for many years, but haven't played them all. I know the original Guild Wars, to my knowledge, was the first to kind of give you PvE leaderboards. World of Warcraft did that with their challenge mode dungeons, and that, from what I understand, I don't know if it was I didn't do it, but I know that it was the people who were actually doing it were very competitive, so I think that's a really, really neat option to have. Yep. So, my major thing is, do you think the trials will be enough? And Delty, I know you're mostly a PvPer, am I correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. I know we're mostly PvE oriented, and we've done raids in almost every game that allowed raiding. Each one of these trials consists of 4 bosses, 3 mini bosses and a final boss. Do you feel, and I'm going to ask Thace this first, and then Delta, you can weigh in. Do you feel that 4 bosses per trial is enough to constitute what we would confer as a raid for like a raid night?
For me, because of my extensive raiding knowledge, it seems really little. Because in one night you can down 4 bosses in one night, and then you still have 8 more bosses to do the next night that you're raiding. But for their first attempt at this, I mean, they weren't even sure they were going to do raiding at first. So with these trials, with them being as hard as we perceive them to be, 4 is a good number. I'm happy with 4. I just hope that with those 4, we have the mechanics that I know that both of us enjoy, that they're difficult, that we're not sure what's going to happen, that it can change any moments, different attacks and things like that. I'm hoping it has all of that. But to me, 4 is a little number. But for their first attempt, it's good. I like it.
Deltia, what do you think?
Me personally, I love it. The reason I'm a PvPer, one of the second reasons is probably time. I like to get in and do something fast. I'm not a guy who wants to sit there for 2-3 hours. I just got too much ADD. So for me, doing PvE content for an hour or 2 is fantastic and will make me want to do it. And that's why I kind of avoid it, to be honest with you. So, I take a high intensity, low boss count over low intensity, high boss count any day. So for me, if it's really intense and really hard, 4 sounds fun because I can get jazzed for a 5-minute epic battle. You know what I mean? So I like it.
Cool. Now I'll talk about this real quick. Is they're also doing a trial of the week where trials every week, starting on Tuesday for the North American and ends the following Tuesday, and European starts at Tuesday, 6 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you're on a trial leaderboard, you'll be rewarded for the trial of the week ends. You can capture extra items in the mail. A new trial of the week is selected. So I'm at the beginning of every trial of the week. So I'm assuming the trial of the week is they'll want you to do either Aetherium Archive or Helras Citadel. So that's kind of, and they're just going to provide extra rewards. The main thing I wanted to mention here is we've already had World First by Entropy Rising. They've completed both the Aetherian Archive as well as Helras Citadel. All right, and I actually spoke with one of their raiders on Twitter. Went back and forth a little bit about it because they downed both of them. They're the first on the leaderboards. Asking them how long it took them to actually learn the mechanics and do the entire fight. And for both dungeons, 8 bosses, he estimated it was roughly about 35 to 40 hours worth of attempts.
Wow.
To get to learn the fights and get it all down. Now, for any who don't know, Entropy Rising, they're the official raiding guild of Tamriel Foundry, with Atropos, the guild leader, and they're pretty intense when it comes to, I don't know, and no offense to them, I don't know if I'd put them up there with such as, like the WoW raiding guild Blood Legion, number 1 in the world. Sorry guys, don't know you that well yet. Maybe sometime. But they're definitely up there in that top ranks of precision. Just watching their videos, they're very precise. Everyone moves with purpose. And I thought 35, 40 hours of attempts, I thought it was a little low, personally. But it's not so low. Like, some games where you go through, it's like the first day opened up, people down everything in the first couple days. I'm used to some harder content. Do you feel 35, 40 hours from a very high-end PvE rating guild, is that a long enough learning curve? Face, what do you think?
I would say that's pretty good. Yeah. Because if you think about it, we would raid, well, when I was in a high-end raiding guild, we raided every night, and we raided for 3 hours a night. I'm really bad at math. I can't calculate how many days 30 hours is. But it sounds okay. It really does. Especially if they only raided a few days a week, not every day, 3 hours. Yeah, it sounds about right. You have to expect something that good from a high-end raiding guild. If it took them 80 hours and they're saying they're a high-end raiding guild, I'd be a little concerned that maybe they're not as good. So with the time that they spent and with how they're portraying themselves, it sounds about right.
Deltia, what do you think?
Man, that seems like long time for myself. Coming from a PvP perspective, it's basically you have to play every week a certain amount of time to be good and learn other people's tactics and what's trending and whatnot. As far as the PvE goes, that's a lot of gameplay, but you got to realize if they're the best, the average person's going to take, well, maybe triple that. But it sounds like fun, and it's going to keep people going and pushing each other to say, well, Entropy Rising did it, we're going to beat them, and going on from there. So the competitive thing is what really is going to keep the content flowing, and having people try to beat each other's scores versus, just this is the dungeon, do it, get the gear, and then wait 2 months or whatever it may be. So as long as they have a competitive spirit and people try to push it and beat it, it's going to last for a while.
I like that answer. I really do. I definitely think when he told me about 35, 40 hours, while I did feel that was a little short, the average group, I think, is going to have an interesting time trying to get into it. And I remember watching the PTS streams last week before they released, of having all these guilds go up against it. I know Entropy Rising didn't actually down Altharium Archives in the hour they were given. They got up to the last boss in roughly 36 minutes, but the rest of the time they tried and they couldn't do it. They eventually beat it later that night. The other people were getting stuck 2 or 3 bosses in. I remember watching the first stream that came on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and for about 40 minutes they wiped on the first set of trash. It was kind of interesting to see them getting ripped apart by the group of fire Atronachs that were up there. It was really interesting. So I really do feel like you're going to need I'm going to take a step back. First off, this game is pretty difficult to begin with. There's a lot of, I want to say, Twitch reaction for the parrying and stuff of that nature, as well as, tanking is definitely very difficult. Healing is difficult with no direct heals. There's a lot of AoE heals. So if you have an idiot who runs off, like you lay a healing circle down, that's great, but he's got to stay in it to get the benefit. If he's running off like a crazy man with his head cut off, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to heal him. It's the same for PvP, Go ahead,
It's a
Delta.
different kind of MMO, and it's a different kind of MMO, and I'll jump in real quick, and that's why the game has been getting a hard time to start with, and I hated it at first, and I played in the beta, didn't like it, didn't care for it whatsoever, and I pre-ordered it. I'm like, well, I'm going to play it. I bought the game. And it's just different. Like you said, blocking, that's new to people who play MMOs. Like, I don't have to block. I have, mitigation stats. That's what it's good for. Well, no, it's just different, and it's fun for that reason, because it is difficult. And difficult games, they're not around anymore. Like when I hit 50, it felt like an accomplishment getting to VR content, not just a dull grind. And that's the way a game should make you feel, that it's fun and it's an accomplishment to get somewhere, and not just, a level to level and just took me 2 hours to get there. So, yeah, it's new for people. You're going to die. You will. And so get ready.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Other games, it's literally just passive stats are enough to get you through it. And this, passive stats they help you survive, but it's minimal at best to even get you through this stuff. And it's definitely weird, because we were talking about this earlier, and actually our one email for this week, it came from you talking about tanking, which we'll read that later. It's just, tanking is not like other games where, as much as Thais will argue, the tank has to work to hold aggro, and there's a priority.
Oh, yeah.
Like, tank has to pick out the one that's most dangerous and hold them, and everyone else has to learn to fend with themselves. Other games, the tank can hold 30 mobs. One guy holds back 30 mobs while people fling spells at it and stuff, and that's his job, just to stand there and take a beating. In this, it's definitely not. It's definitely difficult. I mean, everyone has to, if you're I'll say this, if you're a full DPS, great. But you should have some sort of mitigation, or maybe a heal on your bar, or at least be able to switch to something for that, for when you get hit, or when you inevitably, and you will, get ads on you. If you're a glass cannon, you'll be destroyed.
Yep.
So, all right, so let's move on a little bit more through these patch notes. So I'm going to touch on this very lightly. Veteran rank has been increased to 12. Now, additionally, veteran rank XP earned from killing enemies has been doubled, so I expect to probably see some grind parties going on in Craglorn eventually. Groups of people just going and killing monsters. Now, I'm not veteran rank yet. Neither is Thais. Deltia, you're veteran rank. What has been your impression of veteran rank so far, like the leveling experience?
It's much harder. You're not going to go in and grab two poles and 3 poles and grab a bunch of them and nuke them. Well, unless you're a Dragon Knight. But otherwise, it's difficult. But it's not as bad as people are saying. Like, you don't get credit for like lockpicks and that much experience for kills. And I guess they patched some of that. Really, you have to do all the quests. You have to do all the content. And if you're doing all the content and not rushing through things, you're going to be just fine. So it's a matter of just taking your time. But it's really like 3 games in one, because you're getting to go from each person's story and seeing it. But it's much more hard. You will find out if you have passives that you need to take, and if you didn't, because and your armor really matters. I remember going up to 50, and I was just doing light armor so I could just spam fire and stuff like that. You can't do that. You got to wear some heavy. And same with my friend. He was a Sork. He was just doing great. He can do tons of damage. He went to veteran rig. He is death flopping. He is dying over and over and over, because you miss a block, you run out of stamina, you're dead. So it's much more challenging, but it's a lot of fun, because every battle is really intense, and so that makes it really fun.
Right, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of I'm going to say it right now for the veteran rank people. You guys don't know what grinding is. I'm going to say it. Unless you've done some other games, like if you played any Korean game, I remember leveling in, Final Fantasy XI as well as Lineage 2. Those were Asian MMOs, and they had de-leveling. And this was hours upon hours of grinding. Now, Thais wants to say something.
I remember playing my favorite free-to-play game and grinding for hours on end to reach level 200. And it took me years to do that, because there were no quests. All you could do was grind mobs in one map, the same mobs, for hours on end. So I know what grinding really is.
Yeah, a lot of this I really think comes from the fact that MMOs are now main culture. Back when I played DOAC, for instance, that was one of those levels. When you hit 50, it was an accomplishment. Like, it was. they had something called the Naked Eamon Maka run, where you would strip your character bum naked and run through Eamon Maka, the one zone, the PvP zone. People wouldn't even kill you because they recognized if you were running naked through the zone, that was kind of like you're heralding that I'm now finally level 50. It took months. The old World of Warcraft, I think, really is the decline of the MMO gaming culture. Yes, it opened it up to a lot of people, and I loved the game, but as the game progressed, you could see they're changing from the let's play the game and experience to let's get to max level. You can see that now, especially with even one of their cash shop items, being able to buy a level 90 character. They're letting you do that to bypass all the story up until that point. They're like, you really are only interested in the most recent thing. Who cares? And they $60, you get a level 90 character, you're done. They're allowing you to bypass everything just to get to max level. And that type of culture, that mentality, people want to get there now. You know, It took, 1 to 50 took quite a while. We're not even 50 yet, and we've been playing every single day, multiple hours a day. Now, given our play style is a little different since launch. Now, we read everything, we talk to everybody. There's technically the actual gameplay time may be a little less than some people because we read every book. We don't just open it and hope for a skill point. We sit there and read the story. It's what we like. But even so, the 1 to 50 was a journey. It was definitely a journey, but from what I understand, veteran ranks take even longer, and rightly so they should. But people nowadays, and I don't want to mean any offense to this, but it really is true. People want to get in, get out. They got their stuff, they hit their max level, yay, I'm happy. You know, that's what they want. And that's the mentality a lot of the people who are complaining about veteran ranks are complaining about. Now, there are some valid concerns, such as now, Delta, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. The most efficient way to actually level within veteran ranks is by going to the other veteran rank zones and doing the quest. Am I correct?
That's what I've seen, but I've also seen, farming parties, and I think they did something really early on to curb that. But veteran rank, you got to do the quest.
Right, and I think a lot of the issues here is the lack of options for leveling your veteran rank. I hope it takes a long time. I think ZeniMax could improve it a little bit by maybe giving more options, such as dungeons, providing more experience for the people who want to dungeon grind to max level. Or maybe PvP, like whenever you take a keep, give a quest worth of experience, There's got to be more options than just doing the quest. While I love the story, and that'll be the route that I take, I can see that when you feel like you're pigeonholed into only doing it one way, that can be rough. Now, see, I think pretty much that was the only way really to level in the game as it is. It's very much a questing game. You could dungeon a little bit, but I don't think they actually provided all that much experience. So with the advent of more veteran ranks, do you feel like this is will ZeniMax have to make changes to how veteran rank is done to keep people, or should they keep it the same? Delta, why don't you give us your opinion?
My personal opinion is this game seems strange in the fact that they're already increasing, quote-unquote, the level with the veteran ranks. Like, I don't know if they intend to do that for every patch, because if they do, I could see them losing a lot of customers, because MMOs are so endgame focused that people don't want to continue to level and then have to reforge all brand new gear for this new veteran rank, 14 or whatever it will be the next time. So it's really tricky. I mean, I get that they want to have new content, but I would say leave the veteran ranks alone. Maybe increase the gear stats versus making people go back to leveling, because if you really want to capture MMOers, you got to stay away from the leveling. And maybe they don't. It's their game. They can do whatever they want with it. But veteran rank leveling takes a long time, and there's no easy way around it. You can do dailies in Cyrodiil, which give you moderate amount of experience, and that's kind of fun to do with a buddy who's, let's say, level 30. That's what my friend and I do sometimes. But yeah, it takes a long time, so I have no idea how anyone has got to VR10 already.
Right. Well, I know I guess there's a gap in leveling somewhere between VR rank 3 and 8 is a lull which takes a long time. Apparently, there's what is it? Is it a dungeon grind group where you can go into lower level veteran rank dungeons and grind from 8 to 10? I think that's what our guildie Kipster did. He's like, there was a big lull. 1 and 2 wasn't too bad. 3 to 7 was terrible. 8 through 10 was not too bad. So, I don't know. I don't mind the leveling, and to me, the leveling is interesting because they tie it to the gear. Like, in other games that have gear grinds, such as Warcraft, Rift, anything like that, when a new raid is released, the item level goes up. So the stats do increase. Here they tie the newer gear with the better stats to a higher veteran rank. So if you get to veteran rank 6, you might down a boss in Hellraw Citadel. Good luck. But if you did, the gear you got, you couldn't wear till veteran rank 12 or whatever the minimum rank was to have it. So that's like, if you want to have that upgraded gear, you have to have the level tied to it. I think it's a different way. It's the same concept. Higher, as the raids go on, the gear has better stats. But they're tying it to a veteran rank level versus a person being able to, get the max level and just down the content, which makes it kind of hard. I know people in Warcraft, for instance, they would bring like fresh characters up and get carried through a raid and get geared up from, random questing greens to full raid gear in one night because their guild carried them through. You couldn't really do that in this style of raiding, because everything is tied to a veteran rank plus personal loot. So it's an interesting take, and I like the way they're doing it, personally. But all right, we're gonna move on. Dungeon chest changes. As I stare over at Thais, she's visually crying at the moment. Chests within instances have undergone 2 changes. Shared chest. Each player in a group whose character is within 50 meters of a chest when it's unlocked will get an individual role in the chest. They've reduced the number of chests. Since chests will yield rewards to all group members, we've reduced the number of chests and instances to 2 total. Each instance will always have 2 chests in them, but the location of the 2 chests will be random. These changes do not affect chests that appear in public spaces, only within instances. Now, before I let Thais go on her little rant, I'm going to say this is a good thing, because I know Force from Force Strategy Gaming, one of the first things that he posted, now given I'm not at all advertising him for anything, but one of the things that he had done was he was playing ESO, and he actually took a video of people trolling him in a dungeon, characters waiting for people to pull the bosses, and then they run around, loot, and take all the stuff. When they were confronted about it, the guy's like, oh yeah, I'll definitely help, and then he continued to do it. So what did they do? They kicked him from the group, but he didn't leave the dungeon. Like, they didn't automatically kick him out. So he stayed and waited for them to pull stuff and then ran up and did it again.
Wow.
I mean, it was a problem. Because, yes, Thais, I'm going to say this. Yes, we gave you all the chests, but if you were in a random pickup group, you probably would have got yelled at because they'd be like, hey, share. Because of the way the dungeon loot is, it's random that you roll a dice. If you get, if you get in that top 10%, then you get a chance at loot. Otherwise, you get trash. The best areas to get loot were out of those chests. So one person sneaking ahead and stealing all the chests was a problem. Go ahead.
All right. Now that Ag has made me sound like I'm a horrible person to do dungeons with, if it was a boss that my team actually needed me, I would totally help. But for every dungeon we did, we were over-leveled and we were with guildies. Okay? So I didn't need to help. So when you guys pulled, I went and opened a chest or two, or three, or all. Didn't matter because we were allowed to take the chests. And in the one pickup group that we did do, not once did I move away from a boss fight. I did the boss fight, and then while everyone else was, right at the end of the boss fight, when they were like, "Oh yes, we beat them," that's when I ran to get the chest. But if I got yelled at for doing it, I'm the person where I'd be like, "Okay, I'll stop," and then I would stop. So I would never get kicked from a dungeon because if people are noticing it and it's making them unhappy, I'd stop. I wouldn't be mean to other players.
Yes, but this is the internet, where everyone's mean to everyone. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I'm not mean to everyone.
Whoa.
So...
This is a change for the good of everyone in a dungeon, because this is the internet, and there are trolls out there who do cause these problems.
Yeah, but that makes me sad because now I can't get lots of loot when my guildies are giving them to me because there's only 2 chests, and that makes me really sad because I'm an amazing lockpicker.
It's not hard to be lockpicking in this game. Go play Oblivion and tell me how amazing of a lockpicker you are.
That's not entirely true because Dan could not open that chest after we told him 6,000 times.
Well, that's an individual player. I mean, generally speaking, lockpicking in this game is very easy. So, I wish you could break more lockpicks, because I have so many lockpicks and nothing to do with them. Anyway, let's move on, because we've spent enough. There's not really a lot to say on this, other than the fact that the change was made to prevent people from trolling. So, awesome change. Okay, the Noob-O-Meter has been added to the game, aka Death Cap. This is Guild Wars 2 had this for an MMO, and this is very popular among MOBA games such as League of Legends, Smite, stuff like that, to have this death recap. I think it'll definitely be interesting to have. I haven't seen it so far. Maybe I should go die. Is it only within the dungeon? Or is it period? Delita, what do you think? Have you seen it?
Unfortunately, I have seen it, and it's kind of annoying at first. They changed the button to respawn, and either you respawn or you use your soul shard. So they changed that. So first time I died, I didn't know that, and I rezzed and had to go walk a million miles back. And then I started looking at it, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, it tells you the HP that you lost and what from, and the abilities and the monsters. So it's interesting, that's for sure. But how helpful it is, I don't know. It doesn't seem that helpful, to be completely honest. But someone likes it, I'm sure.
Well, from a PvPer point of view, I mean, it should be pretty helpful. Ace, what do you guys say?
I have seen it multiple times because I'm squishy. So the first time it happened, I really enjoyed it because I was able to see how much damage that I took. Because a lot of times the damage I take is spiky. I'll take just large amounts of damage in a split second. So for me, I actually liked it because I was able to see the move that was used. It was just a lot of information. It was interesting. I died, and then the screen popped up telling me how much I lost because of what. And I had actually died from a mob that was behind me that I didn't even know was there. So for me, it worked. I liked it. And the reason I die is because Ag doesn't pay attention.
I don't die. I don't know what the issue is there. I watch my own health. Alright, let's move on to the next section here. The Alliance War changes. And actually, you know what? I'm going to skip part of this because it's going to roll into our discussion topic. But all monsters in Cyrodiil and its caves are now veteran rank 5. So they're going to be harder. I don't know how much of a change it's actually going to make in PvE or PvE related stuff later on, but it's going to be kind of interesting. They've added new population underdog bonuses, so if you're on an underpopulated faction, you'll start getting bonuses for scoring and stuff like that. When you take stuff, a keep will be worth more. They've increased the experience award for killing enemy players, and for completing the kill 20 enemy players quest has also been increased. Now, we're going to move right on to our discussion topic from here, which is PvP and how we feel it can be changed to provide a more robust PvP experience, or what we would like to see. I kind of wanted to do another one of these open-end kind of discussion topics where we're not really talking about anything in particular that ZeniMax has done, but things that we would like to see from our point of view in the gamer as gamers, what we would like to see to kind of fill out the game as a whole. And I actually thought this is a perfect discussion to have, since the leader here is a PvPer more than a PvE person, so he should have a lot to weigh in on this. First off, let's do a little kind of round table. Thais will go first, the leader, you'll go next, and I'll go last. How do you feel PvP is right now in the game? Deltia, sorry. I'm sorry, I pronounced it wrong. I'm thinking about some other stuff. Thais, go first. How do you feel PvP is right now in the game?
I'm mostly a PvEer, but for me, I think it's fun. You know, it's enjoyable. I feel very weak because of the veteran rank 10 people running around. There's nothing I can do to beat them. If we have a group of 14 against one veteran rank 10, that's it. We're gonna die. And I'm not used to feeling that helpless in PvE, because normally I can run or I can heal myself or something, but against that veteran rank 10, I am sure enough dead. But I do enjoy it. When I do PvP, I have a lot of fun, you know, using the siege weapons and going up against this giant castle and tearing its walls down. I like it. I think it needs some improvement, but I do like it.
All right. Deltia, what do you think?
Yeah, it's actually not my preferred PvP playstyle. In the past, I loved open world, but it's very hard to make it balanced, fair, and fun at the same time. Because ultimately, in an open world environment, how you win is just a massive zerg of bodies. And real PvPers, that's okay, but you want to show your skill in a kind of a somewhat fair environment, and that just does not exist unless it's instance-based. So right now, the game needs some tuning, it really does. I mean, should people even be allowed to be in the PvP zone 10 to 49? I don't know, because you get a veteran rank 10 and they take on 15 people and they're a vampire, dragon knight, nunner, and they can just kill, I don't think that's fair. I really don't. So they need some tuning. But to be honest with you, I am super impressed in the server technology. The fact that you can have 100 people in an open environment throwing flames everywhere and chucking rocks and taking down towers, not a bit of lag, that's impressive. It really is. So they got some work to do, but overall I think it has a good foundation that can keep players doing stuff for a long time.
You know, I'm going to have to piggyback off Delta here, because it's true. Like, their server environment is amazing. Like, we were talking to some gillies earlier about live shows and stuff, and we're like, well, we kind of host on DSL. We can't really do them. It's rough on us. That being said, I don't lag in Cyrodiil, and that's amazing to me. Especially even these big groups, I don't lag, and it's awesome. But I think they should, like, they already do this, but we'll get into it. I do feel Cyrodiil right now is unfair. Like you said, a larger force wins in open world. I don't feel bad if I got wiped by 100 people. I feel bad if I got 100 people get wiped by, as you said, one Dragon Knight, Dunmer, Vampire, Sorcerer, veteran rank 10, you know, who can just murder everything. Because I think we did a couple guild PvP events, and every single time, like, we're taking the keep, we're having a blast. It was fun. I like this type of PvP. My first PvP, not first PvP game, but first game I really got into that I got to max level, Dark Age of Camelot. This is exactly what it was, and I adored it. I loved it. I like sieging castles, but there is a balance problem with the veteran ranks. Like, I really, really do not like how they're doing the veteran ranks. You should feel more powerful for being veteran rank 10, but should you be able to take out 50 different people? You know, don't even talk about it if that Dunmer Dragon Knight vampire is also the Emperor. If he's the Emperor, the entire map just dies. You know, it's... Again, you're supposed to be OP when you're the Emperor, you know, if you're veteran rank 10, but it's to the point where our group of 12, 14 people got wiped by one guy, and his health was not visibly going down.
Wow.
It's not... And I mean, we were all hitting him. There was no we were just standing there like crazy. He came in with his flame staff and just started nuking us, and we all dropped like flies. And I mean, I was hitting the guy. I knew he was a vampire. I was using my Fighters Guild stuff, my silver bolts, which are supposed to stun him, but it didn't because he was too high level. You know, stuff like that. That my anti-vampire stuff was not working on this veteran rank 10 guy. You know, I decked myself out to be a hard counter against vampires and werewolves, and it doesn't do anything. You know, I really do think they should separate out, and we can talk about that later. But yeah, it's not, as it currently stands, unless you are a veteran rank 10 player, Cyrodiil is not fun for you. It's not. I mean, unless you're running in a Zerg, or with a group of players that have a mixture of veteran rank players in it, then it could be fun. But if your entire group does not have a veteran rank 10 in it, you might as well just not even play, because you'll get murdered. I mean, you really will. It's unfair. All right, so while we're on the subject, before we get on, I have it in the show notes as a different bullet point, but let's talk about it. Different campaign rule sets. And so let's talk about Cyrodiil as a whole. How do we think they can fix Cyrodiil? Del, why don't you go first?
Okay, so I know their whole motto is, you know, open world, and that's great. I really think it's good, but people are going to get tired of it. You need to have some instance-based PvP. So they have the Delve system where you basically go in there and you kill stuff or whatever. That's a lot of fun. But they need to have some like arena type thing, like 4v4 small group content, where let's say you go into this area and only 4 other people can get into it, or like you wait in a queue and 4 people get to you, and then you fight it out in Cyrodiil. Whoever gets out of the cave gets a trophy or something. I don't know. But the campaigns themselves, it's a huge area, and dying to me is not fun, because if you die, it takes you forever to get back. And the traveling needs to be fixed. There needs to be some open-based PvP, some small group content where it's not just about a Zerg of who has the most massive people. It's really hard to make that work. And then also, you got to make it balanced. And it's PvP. So if there's a bonus to being a vampire, Dunmer, dark dragon knight, everyone's going to do it. And what happened? Everyone was a dragon knight, Dunmer, you know, and they were just blocking people down with talents, throwing their standards down, and wiping out 30 people. So we got to do the class balancing. They're trying to do that, and that's fixed to some extent. But at the same token, you know, there has to be small things for people to do, or you're not riding for 30 minutes to get to a keep. That's not fun for me. And if I die the first minute I get there, I have to ride 30 minutes back. I don't enjoy that personally. I enjoy being able to click a button, get in a queue, fight for 10 minutes, all out. It's a blast, and then I'm done. That's what I really enjoy. So for me, there's a lot of changes that need to happen, but that in every PvP game, there's a lot of changes, and it's going to be ongoing because people are going to keep trying to break the system. I do. I know I try to break the system and try to make the most OP class ever, and it will change over and over. So, but giving small player, I don't want to go with 30 people. I don't get along with a lot of people. I always want to have 4 really good buddies, and we just wreck face. That's what I want to have happen. So until they give me something like that, I'm just going to stick to leveling and having fun.
Right. I'm going to go next for this next one here. Currently in the news, they are releasing a shorter campaign that's only 2 weeks. I think it's interesting, but I I think they need more campaign rule sets, first off. Like, I think to fix Cyrodiil itself, they need to separate out the 1 through 49 and the veteran rank players. Make 1 or 2 campaigns that are veteran, or, you know, almost everything should be veteran rank, but there should be like 1 campaign that's for the leveling people, because eventually people will level out of it. They will. It happens. You gain experience while you're fighting. You can't stay in forever. But a leveling campaign would be a heck of a lot more fun for me than this running in with a veteran rank. I think that's one thing right off the bat that they could do, where they have a campaign that's 1 through 49 that if you are veteran rank, you cannot join it. Or the second you hit veteran rank, you know, you hit 50, you know, when you log out, log back in, you are forced to select a new home campaign. I think that would be the way to go to fix Cyrodiil. Ace, what do you think?
I really like that idea, your idea, Egg. It would certainly make it more fun for those of us that aren't veteran rank yet. But
we don't have much longer to go. So we wouldn't even get to be in it for long.
That's okay, though. That's okay, though. We would still at least get to experience it how it's supposed to be. Now, for what Deltia said, no, but what do you mean? No, I have opposing points to what he said. I pretty much hate everything he said. I feel that open world PvP, the way it is now, is exactly how it should be. We are at war with the other alliances. And how do you win a war? By having the most people. That's how you win a war. So all these, quotes, zergs are how it should be. There should be groups of 50 people going up against this keep. And if they're not defending that keep, or there's only 2 people there, then they lose their keep. That is exactly how it should be. The group with the most people win, no matter what. And I think putting arenas in the game is a horrible idea. I hate arenas. They bring in the worst.
Hold on. I'm going to cut you off here because we're going to move into that.
Okay. Well then, I'll move to my next point. Delty is saying that you hate dying because you have to run 500 miles to get back to where you are. Well, that is why they implemented forward camps. So if you're with 50 people, then those people should be smart enough to know to bring with them forward camps, so that if you die, you only have to run 10 feet because it's right behind you. Now, they only have a set number of resurrections, which is okay. Bring more. You have to bring your siege weapons. You have to bring your forward camps. This isn't supposed to be a battleground or an arena type play. This is a war zone. The more items you have, the more people you bring, the more likely you are to win.
All right, so since we're still talking about Cyrodiil, and yes, it is an open world PvP, that's why I was trying to cut you off with the arenas and stuff. We're going to talk about that later. That's why they're separate bullet points.
That's why I shut up.
Now Guild Wars 2 tried this because they had that same 3 faction. How would you guys feel about providing smaller PvP objectives? Keeps are big. You need a lot of people. How about providing smaller PvP objectives that are worth, how would you provide that? What kind of smaller PvE objectives would you like to see in Cyrodiil alongside of the camps and the stuff like that to promote smaller group play and, still reward alliance points and allow you to go your rank? Thais, you go first.
I think what they have now could really work. I think they just need more of them. The dungeons and such, because there are PvE dungeons in the PvP zone. Is that what you mean?
I'm specifically talking
inside Cyrodiil?
In Cyrodiil, we're specifically talking about PvP in Cyrodiil. What in Cyrodiil do PvP would you like to see implemented within Cyrodiil for PvP-focused players to do to contribute to the war effort, their overall score, as well as advancing their characters?
I I really don't know because right now you have those smaller areas. You can take a lumber mill, you can take a farm. You have those little areas. If you're exploring the map with a small group and another small group attacks you, well, there you go. There's your small group. But Cyrodiil isn't meant for small groups. It really isn't. Like, you can't take a keep with 5 players, and you shouldn't be able to, unless there's no one defending it. But even if 4 of those players have a siege weapon up, it's going to take a really long time to get that keep wall down. Now, I do feel that there are things they can change, like balancing would be a great start, or making a 1 to 49 and then veteran up. But as for changing inside Cyrodiil as it is, I don't think you shouldn't. Because, as I said before, it's a war zone. There should be no need for smaller groups. You should want to be with lots of players in Cyrodiil itself.
Let me put it like, let me see if this is an interesting idea. The main problem I have with lumber mills, keeps, and stuff like that, and Del, I'm sure you could probably attribute to this, is when you attack a lumber mill or keep, it flags the keep as being under attack, which often brings the Zerg upon you.
Right.
How would you feel about smaller, say, military, like smaller components around that would provide you points that are not tied to a keep and won't flag as, like a mini flag, like, oh, you took a military base, and now, sort of like how Skyrim had the different for the Alliance or the Civil War, they had the Stormcloak and the Imperial camps. What about camps of PvE NPCs that are high veteran rank, like veteran rank 10 commander or whatever, or boss commander, or something similar like that you could take, and getting it would save, I don't know, 5 points for your Alliance score. That would not flag a keep directly. Would that help? I think that'd be neat to have in the game to promote give smaller groups something to do. And technically speaking, if you wanted to have small group PvP, Del, you and your 4 friends could hang out like hidden by like one of these flags that you've taken and wait for another small group to come and try to capture it, and then you could wipe them out. A full Zerg is not going to do that. It's a waste of manpower when you can take a keep that rewards a lot more points,
Now that you said that idea, it sounds like a fantastic idea. It really does. Because then our little group of 10 people would be able to go around the map. And it would logically work, because a little camp is not going to have any way to flag his commander 500 miles away. So that would make sense to me. And as long as the rewards aren't like super great, there would be no reason to just camp it and wait for it to spawn over and over again. But then you would have to worry about balancing the spawn rate.
It wouldn't be a spawn rate, really. It'd be when you took it over, your guards would appear.
Oh,
but see, then as a small group, you could then hide, like stealth, and then wait for another small group to come to take it to get points, and then you could wipe them out, and there you got your small group confrontation. Because a large Zerg, why waste time on a small war camp? Because think about it, the big Zergs now don't even waste time on the lumber mill and camp. They just siege the keep. But a small camp, you could take it, mark it as, Ebonheart Pact, and then you get a few Ebonheart Pact guys, and then you can wait and stealth and wait for, some Aldmar Dominion or Daggerfall guys try to take this small camp as their, way for them to get points, and then kill them. What do you think, Del?
Well, so the question is, how can we make Cyrodiil better? Is that right, or what's the question?
Yeah, well, you can comment on, the small camp idea, or what are your ideas on providing smaller group objectives within Cyrodiil? Like, what would your idea to provide? Because we're still talking in the terms of Cyrodiil, so we're not talking arenas, battlegrounds yet. We're talking, how can you provide a small group experience within Cyrodiil?
Well, first off, they used to make some good points about the battle and you wanting it to be a battle, so I do get that. But real PvEers, I shouldn't say real PvEers, but even players of any type of game.
Competitive PvEers is a good term for
competitive players.
Yeah.
One precision. You want to be the best and show that you are precise and you can do something that other people can't. PvEers want the same thing. PvPers want the same thing, which is a chance to shine. So to make something interesting and fun, you have to have number one, somewhat fair and balanced. Number two, an opportunity, and then number three, a small way to do it. So I think I heard someone else on another podcast talk about maybe an escort mission. So at the daily area, there's like escort missions where like basically, I don't know, you could do not like an Elder Scroll where like you're escorting the Elder Scroll back, but maybe a caravan with supplies. And it kind of comes on the map, or it gives there's some chance for an enemy to see you do it, and you get alliance points for doing that. So to me, that would be kind of fun because you have a group of 4 or 5, 6 people. There's incentive to do it. It affects the overall scheme of the game. Plus, it's in the open world environment, so that way you could be attacked and then engage with the enemy. Something like that, similar to carrying the Elder Scroll back, have it PvE based and affect the PvP area. Other than that, I don't know of too many other things right now off the top of my head.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely think Cyrodiil could be bolstered by having small objectives that really do not benefit the Zerg to go take, but would support that small group. Like you said, the caravans. My idea of the war camps that you could take that aren't tied to any keep. I think that'd be kind of interesting to see, and would provide that's a chance for those smaller encounters. So, all right. So we're gonna move off of Cyrodiil, and let's talk about the next thing: battlegrounds and arenas. Should they be added? And if they are, how do you think they should be implemented? Del, why don't you go first on this one?
Okay, well, I want to counter some of Theis's points here real quick. First off, about the alliances and a war. That's a great idea, and it really should feel like that, but it doesn't. Number one, you get to do all the other story of the other campaigns. Why I really like that, you don't have a sense of campaign pride because you get to see the Daggerfall. You get to be the Daggerfall Covenant. You get to be the Ebonheart Pack when you're on the Aldemary. Number two, you can create a different character that's a different faction, which I don't think should be done. So if they really wanted to make it feel like a war, make it you're locked into Aldemary, and that's what you're going to be on your account, like Warhammer was. That's going to give you a real sense of pride because you can't do anything else until you delete all your characters or start another account. So that really is going to fire people up to be, Ebonheart sucks or Aldemary sucks or whatever. That's what really makes a good competitive environment. For me, I like arenas. Why? Because I don't have to ride anywhere. I can click a button, fight people, and prove that I'm BA or get my head blown off. One of the two. It doesn't matter. I like that I can be in a small environment with 3 or 4 buddies. I don't have to sit in guild chat and type things for 5 hours to get a group to go. I like that basically I want to keep it as minimal as possible that I can have fun when I want. And other people don't affect my fun. What I mean by that is I'm not dependent on other people either playing with or against for fun. So solo queuing for me, why I don't like it personally, it gives an option to people that, if you don't have a real tight group of buddies, to find friends. That's what the game's all about. And arenas, that's how you prove you're good or not. I don't think it'll ever be in this game because, to Theis's point, it's supposed to feel like a war. Does it really right now? No, it doesn't to me, because there's no incentive for me to go beat up on Ebonheart Pack, as I can go play Ebonheart Pack, and I'm going to play Ebonheart Pack to the veteran rank stuff. But really, I just like it, and it's just fun to get in there in 10 minutes. It's really intense and fun, or 4 minutes, whatever it is. And, prove that you're good. That's what it's all about. But it's not going to work in this game because everyone can be a healer, a DPS, and a tank. It's not like typical MMOs. You'd have people that you couldn't die, essentially, with certain builds. It would be so unbalanced, just incredibly imbalanced. So I don't think it's going to work, but I'd like it. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. All right. In other games that I've played, I enjoy Battlegrounds because I liked the individual objectives that you had to do. king of the mountain, or get to the center, or take this from this keep and put it in the other. Like, all the individual rules of those battlegrounds gave me a reason to want to play them, because I wasn't just going up against other players. I'm not a good PvPer. I'm a horrible PvPer. And because of that, I don't like being around good PvPers. Because a lot of good PvPers are people that you just do not want to be around. And what you're saying with make it so that it feels more warlike, make it so you're locked into a specific alliance, that does nothing but makes, especially the hardcore competitive PvPers, it does nothing but makes them players hateful. And that does nothing but breed a horrible community in the game. I
was gonna say, pot kettle, sweetheart. You and your dirty elves, remember? Pot kettle. Okay, continue.
But that's just because the elves are dirty. I don't like the elves. It's completely different. Stay over there.
Does.
Gosh, see, exactly. No one does. It's just when you make it that concrete, the community starts. It does something bad to the community. I like that you have the option to today play Ebonheart Pact, and tomorrow to play in Daggerfall. I'm not going to say Aldmari, I hate the elves, but that option makes it so that you can interact with everyone in the community. So everyone together, it makes it so much better. In WoW, talking to the PvPers made me just want to claw people's eyes out. Like, you did not want to be around them people.
I'm that guy, by the way. I am that guy.
Oh, man. I can't stand them people. And arenas. Oh, man. I've tried to do arenas so many times because I wanted to learn to be that PvP player. I wanted to be good. I wanted to know my class inside and out. And I couldn't, because I would get screamed at and yelled at because I wasn't a good player. Even if I'm trying to learn, if someone sat down and tried to teach me, I could learn. But no one would give me the chance, because then competitive PvPers, you just wanted to smack them with baseball bats because they would scream and yell at you. And it's just not a good environment to be around. I hope, and I know you disagree, I hope they don't put arenas or battlegrounds in this game, even though it would give it a whole other kind of depth for PvP. I just think it's a bad idea for the community.
Ace, can I ask you a question?
Of course you can.
I totally agree with you about the meathead PvP players, because I am one of them that screams at other people. And I have made that mistake. But I think that if PvP players have two different separate environments, one called unranked and one ranked, that usually changes things, because if I lose an unranked game, I could care less. If I lose a ranked game, I'm super pissed off. Now, if it's just because the team was better, I get that. If it's because it's someone's first time queuing and they have no gear and all this sort of thing, that's going to make me mad. But if there's I think more options in the game is better. And to your point, I think you are dead on about the faction and having it locked in, because that would create a hostile environment. I'm used to that environment, so it doesn't bother me, but I can see where that would be annoying. So my point is, do you think it would be advantageous to have like a practice area and then a real thing?
In this game, it's really hard for me to say. If it was with Battlegrounds, if they were able to find a way to implement Battlegrounds into the game and the lore, and they made it so that Battlegrounds could be ranked and unranked, I feel like that would be okay. Because Battlegrounds still bring a different type of people than arenas. Yeah. So if it was Battlegrounds of groups of 10 or 15 and it was ranked or unranked, I feel like that would be okay. And it would add more to the PvP players. It might not be completely damaging, but as soon as they added arenas, that'd be it.
When you say battlegrounds, do you mean like objective-based maps? Is that what you mean by battlegrounds?
Yes,
Okay.
smaller groups with objectives in the map.
It's
Yes.
not. It's well, when you say arena, you mean team deathmatch. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, arenas where it's one, two, or three people going up against each other. I'm pretty much completely talking about WoW's PvP. I
Okay.
hated their PvP.
All right, first off, I'm going to say something here from both of you. I love my wife, and I'm just going to say for the argument, I love Dell as well. This is the internet, people. I'm going to say this right now. It doesn't matter. Um, and not to belittle any of the guests or anything. I'm not saying this in any one way, but you can't really apply Thace. You can't really apply that like the meathead PvPer to just PvPers. Don't you remember the Onyxia video from World Warcraft? That even follows in PvE. It's not the type of gameplay that brings out the player, it's the player itself, and you'll find them anywhere you go. So to not add something to a game because you're worried about having this type of player, I mean, hang out in zone chat for a little bit. You'll see the trolls. It's the internet. I mean, I'm not one for saying, oh, we shouldn't have this because it brings that type of player. Yes, maybe it does. But so does having trials with the time scores. You're going to see that. You're going to see those players who are the hotheads, the PvP meatheads, or the Onyxia repeat of if you stand in the right spot, it's not even bleeping remotely possible. You know, that kind of stuff. It's people. That's you know what? Forget it. Let's play a game where no people are in it, and that's when you'll have fun. But
He does have a point. He
yeah,
does have a
He
point.
does. Yeah, he does.
the only way you're going to get away from that is if this was a single player game, because it's the only way.
See, my problem with that is I've been around those type of raid players, but I don't raid with people like that. I've never raided with people like that, but even if I do PvP, I can't choose who I'm with in PvP, and I don't like being yelled at. I don't like that.
Well, you can choose who you're with in PvP. In arenas and stuff, you could choose your own team.
No, you can't, because unless you're a great, outstanding, testosterone-filled PvPer, you're not going to get choosed to play PvP. Because if you don't know, if you're just learning, no one's going to want you. They're going to scream and yell at you, and that's it.
I don't believe that. If you have friends, you can find your people. They don't, yeah, like that's, I don't believe it at all. It's the same as going into a raid environment. You bring the people that you're friends with.
Now, I do want to say that I am in no way judging you, Dell, and I happen to be a woman, as everyone knows. I don't like being screamed at, and I know I'm a good player. If people gave me a chance, I could learn. So I just want to say, no judgment. It's just how I feel.
Oh, I'm totally the meathead PvP player, but I will say this. I was one of the best in the world at Star Wars. I think I was the only one in the world to get 5 characters to 1,500. And I did that because, number one, I played a lot. I ran into a lot of people who did suck. And, sometimes I would get carried away with them. And then some would whisper me and say, hey, my brother just died or something like that. And I had to take a step back and go, okay, this is a game. This is people's release just like it is for me. But in competitive world, I would be, and some people go, what am I doing wrong? And I've made all these guides on my video and website and stuff. And I said, look, I'll work with you if you want to get better, because I'm all about helping people. It's the people that go in there and say, oh, it's my sub, screw you. They throw games. They don't even have equipment equipped. They don't have anything on their skill bar. And then you're taking it really serious, trying to beat the guy across from you who's second best in the world. And you got this guy in your team. That's what's really frustrating from my angle. But like I said, if there's an unranked version where we can just go around and have fun and get like 4 or 5 people and it's a blast, then there's no pressure. I don't really care if I win or lose. I'm just getting gear or doing whatever. But to your point, you're dead on that there is that culture out there. And I felt the same way about PvE too when I've tried to do it. Don't stand here. Well, I'm sorry. I haven't watched all the YouTube videos. I don't know where to go all the time.
I was going to say,
Wow.
we were the same way when we raid. Like when we were looking for certain people, if you didn't have a minimum I score, we didn't bring you because you would bring us down. We still have the same attitude, and there's still that. See, here's the best thing about MMOs: bring your friends. Even if you went into, even if it would, there were no unranked, there's nothing that forces you to random queue with people. Nothing. We pugged one time in this thing for dungeons, and that was it. One time. Every single time we prefer to have the guild with us. You can choose. That's the best part. You can choose who you want to play with. Now, hey, we'll put me as an example. Say, Thais, or Del, you're amazing PvPer. We could be friends. You could bring me. I suck. You know, like it's still his choice to bring me. Like, even if we're doing this stuff, he can choose to bring me. He can be the nice guy and show us. But he wouldn't choose to randomly pug with me. If it was a random pug, you know, hey, if I'm going into a random pug, I'm opening myself up to that. Instead of going with Del, I would go with Thais, because we're both not good PvPers. Whatever the case may be, we can learn together. We go up against an opponent, they roll our face, we laugh about it. We don't care about our rating. You know what? But it's an MMO. Nothing is forcing you to use the random tool, other than who you get appeared by for an enemy, but that doesn't matter if you had your own guys or not. The enemy is always going to be random to you, but you're never forced to do a random pug. You're not. Find people you want to play with, and that culture's gone. You don't have to be part of that culture or even be exposed to it more than the chat window, which, by the way, you can turn off. So, you know, to have something not in the game for fear of having a certain culture, I say is unfair, because you're alienating the people who that's what they like to do. Del, you don't like raiding that much. So if this game only had PvE, you would be bored.
Yeah, I wouldn't have stuck with. In fact, I'm actually loving the PvE in this game, but yeah, that I don't care for that. But it's way different than everything else I've done. So yeah, I wouldn't stick with it.
Same. And if I went into a game, like there's another game that I'm kind of interested in, would I ever stick with it? Probably not, because it's not the time. It's Camelot Unchained, that Kickstarter. They specifically said they're only doing PvP, and it's only open world, kind of the PvP we're doing now, but no PvE at all. Nothing. That game is a very niche kind of game where full PvPers will love it. I'm interested in it to try it, but would I play it for years? Oh, not a chance. Not a chance.
It would probably make me go on a mass murdering spree, so I could never play.
Right. But they're right there. They're creating a niche for their game, and this is what they're sticking with. They're never going to get my sub. They're never going to get yours, and they've come to terms with that. But when they're trying to keep people, options are never a problem to have in a game. I mean, I'm all for arenas. I don't like battlegrounds. Specifically in this one, because I don't know how they would pull it off lore-wise. I think it'd be kind of weird. Well, I mean, objective-based battlegrounds, I guess if they had a part of a map that was objective-based, that the three sides go in and they try to hold certain points, they might be able to do it. It's where would you stick it in the lore?
See, my biggest problem is Arena, I could see them actually getting away with. If they made it the Cyrodiil Coliseum.
Yeah, they've already done that in the game. They've already done that in Oblivion. They've had I know it's not real PvP, but the Arena lore basis has been done.
So that's the only way I could see. Like, arenas make sense in my head. It would fit lore-wise. Battlegrounds will be really difficult for me to see working lore-wise, which makes me sad because I enjoy Battlegrounds more than I enjoy arenas.
The idea of having individual maps doesn't really...
Yeah, it doesn't work with their game.
It doesn't, but I think it's not... Here's the problem I have. They could do a battleground where it was literally a city where you spawn in and you have to hold points. But that kind of gameplay would get old. I mean, you're going to hit the same problem that Cyrodiil's having now, just on a smaller scale. The game types that are often attributed, capture the flag, why would holding a flag even help in it? You know, win a war, carrying it back to your base. That kind of play style is lore breaking to the game.
See, to me, it doesn't have to be if they didn't call it Battlegrounds. If they made it out to be a festival and they called it War Games, it wouldn't necessarily have to be war. It would be a war game. And then they could make it work and it would be lore friendly. Because instead of it being, oh yeah, I'm Ebon Heart packed and I'm just going to kick all your butts, it would be a game instead in this festival. And then they could have multiple types of maps and King of the Hill and Hold the Flag, and they could have that stuff. In my head, that could be made to be lore friendly. And it would be fun.
All that reminds me of is the abortion of a game, Final Fantasy X2, where at the end of every chapter it was really intense, and then they went down to something like let's sell a ticket to a concert. That would break my immersion. Oh, it's just for play. Don't worry about it. Just for play. That's me. You know, other people may not really care for the lore, but I adore this universe, and it would just be jarring for me personally to be like, oh, it's pretend.
How would the War Games Festival not be awesome? Because if you're a Nord and you hear War Games Festival, that just sounds amazing. Are you kidding me?
For a Nord, the only war game festival is see who can drink the most, and then, like, I don't know, tick off a frost troll. All right, I think we've spent enough time on this. Does anyone have any closing thoughts on this discussion topic? Del, why don't you start first on PvP in the game and what you think they should do to make it better? We'll just round out your thoughts.
Okay. Real quick, I want to ask you guys a question when I'm done, is that I didn't enjoy to start this game for PvP, to be honest with you, because I don't like open world. And I actually really love the PvE, it's surprisingly, because it's just different. It's not just stand here, press 4 buttons, and kill everything. You have to move, react, and think. So for me, I'm going to do PvP when I get, up there and learn my class and do all those things. But I don't know if I'll ever really be enthralled with it until there's instance-based. With that being said, my question is, do you guys like PvP better in this game than you have in other games since you're PvEers primarily?
Oh wow, that's a good question. Let's see. In other games that I've played PvP, I played a lot of PvP in Guild Wars 2, and I played a lot in WoW. In Guild Wars 2, they had almost the same kind of the faction war where it was open, and I loved that. I was in that PvP, I think every day with those large groups taking just taking the whole map. I loved it. The battlegrounds I enjoyed, but not as much as Guild Wars 2 open world PvP. So I definitely do enjoy ESO's PvP a lot. Like just so much more than a lot of the other PvPs I've ever tried. It's so much fun. It actually feels like war to me. I know it doesn't to you, but to me it does, and I love it.
So the environment really that's what you really enjoy when you feel a part of the environment.
Yes. Yes, I do. I feel like even though I'm in a group with a whole bunch of other people, when I have my siege engine down and I'm breaking a wall, even though I'm a bad PvPer, I'm actually helping in some way.
You feel like more a part of it. You don't have to be like super badass at your class. You see, it makes you feel like you're contributing effectively. That's what you like about it. Okay.
Yeah, very much.
I was an old DOAC player, so this is more nostalgia for me than anything. But I do like like you said, the environment itself. Now, I was also an arena player. I think I wasn't very high. I was like 2100 rated in WoW, so I was low high end, I guess you would say. Never a gladiator, but I was more than the common trivial lower folk. So I appreciate both, but this definitely for me, it's a nostalgia of Dark Age of Camelot, as well as I prefer this open world type. I like taking keeps. I like the environment. I like being able to do other stuff while PvPing, like the delves. I like having to not only worry about the monsters I'm fighting, but making sure no sneaky elves come behind me and stab me in the back. So as a PvE player, I like this type of PvP. Primarily PvE player. So, I guess it's your turn. Final thoughts on the discussion.
This was a lot of fun. I got to vent all of my PvP frustration. I just feel bad because poor Dell is on the other side of it.
Oh, it's good discussion though. It's a good because
I
you have good feelings, and that's okay.
I agree. It was. I'm doing my Peter Pan pose. It was a lot of fun because I actually got to talk to one of those, meathead PvPers who I just want to, claw their eyes out. So it was a good time. This was a great discussion.
Note to self: don't pick such a heated topic for PvP. I think they should add they need to separate out the campaigns to veteran rank campaigns and have one campaign for leveling people that veteran rank people can't join. I think smaller objectives such as either the escort missions or like the war camps that you can take. Because I don't know about you, but I'd sit with 4 people stealth by a war camp right outside of like Dominion area and just wait. Because I know a small group's going to want to take it. Wait for them to show up and then slaughter them. I would like that. I'm fond of arenas, not battlegrounds, because I don't feel that objective-based PvP can be done lore-wise that it doesn't already have within Cyrodiil, just in a non-instance based. Repeating the same battle over and over again to me doesn't feel right for the Elder Scrolls game because it feels lore breaking. Such as the WoW, whatever the capture of Warsung Gulch. It's like after 8 years of doing the same battleground, you think someone would have won by now. But that's how I feel about that. So I'm not fond of battlegrounds. If they add them, great. As long as it doesn't break lore, I'm happy because I'm not against adding new stuff to the game. Brings people in. That's awesome. But I think arenas for the instance PvP should definitely be done. Hey, meatheads get their subs in, helps pay the developers so they can keep my game going. I'm fine with that. But I definitely think smaller objectives in PvE, the Cyrodiil is definitely needed. Okay, let's move on to our next section, which is the Tales of Tamriel. And as our guest, Dell, why don't you go first and tell us a little bit about the character you're playing, first of all. Tell us how you're playing it, what level they are. And then what have you been doing in Elder Scrolls this week?
Okay, well, my main is a Dragon Knight Nord, actually, on the Aldmeri Dominion. I know, filthy elf. And I'm about to hit VR6 right now, and I play as a tank. I've been doing some veteran rank dungeons. Been clearing those. I had a really good group, and that went really well. And I'm just leveling, trying to get skill points. I'm actually trying to heal because I never find healers to play with. Everyone wants to be a derpy derp DPS, and so I'm going to try to heal and tank and do both. So meaning I need a lot of skill points. So right now I've just been rolling around Cyrodiil, getting all of them. I have all but 4. I'm just going from zone to zone to zone with my higher ranked buddies, collecting Sky Shards, Mage Guild books, leveling my Fighters Guild up, and just really trying to get a feel for what it's like endgame PvE-wise, how to be good. And it's very hard. It really is. Tanking is hard, but that's why it's fun. So to me, I'm not even really focused on PvP at the moment. I really want to do PvE top notch because there is a leaderboard, and being a meathead PvPer, I need to show my EPing somewhere, so if I can do it PvE-wise, I'm just completely happy with that. So yeah, just running around VR6 and try not to die, and now I'm starting to make some guides too, now that I understand the game a little bit better. But yeah, having a blast.
Yeah, as a PvPer, you'll know that the way you do stuff PvE is much different from PvP, and it's almost like learning a whole new game when you're going from one to the other. All right, so what have you been doing in game this week? Then do you have any tales, any fun quests you've run across, or?
Oh, well, I heard you guys about the Nord and the giant kicks you across, and so I've been doing veteran ranked Ebonheart, and I came across that. But really, the stories are just fantastic. I just finished the Ebonheart story, and obviously no spoilers. I'm not going to ruin it for anyone. But man, it was an awesome story. I fought, let's just say, a boss thing. It took me 15 minutes. It took me literally 15 minutes. It had 200,000 hit points. And about 10 minutes into it, I'm like, am I missing a part of the quest? Because I was looking on the map and it told me to go somewhere else. I've been fighting this thing for 10 minutes and I haven't died. I'm just kiting it and, healing myself and whatever. And apparently not. I was like, okay, 200k HP, let's go. And so I just fought this huge thing for 15 minutes and beat it with my fearless king, the Skald King. And so that was pretty epic. I haven't had an epic fight, single player like that, and since probably Final Fantasy VIII. And that's what makes this game fantastic, is you get moments like that where it's epic. It really is. And you got the cool music going, and you just feel like a badass. And that's what a game should make you feel like.
It's definitely true. The stories in this game are amazing. I feel bad for anyone who rushed through leveling and just tabbed through all the options, because the stories are good. They really are. I do encourage anyone who wanted to race to max level to create an alt and go back and do it slow just to hear the stories, and you'll really like it. You really will. So, is that all for your tales for this week?
Yeah, I was going to tell you one other thing is that I'm kind of an altaholic. I don't know if you guys are or not, but I mean, the classes feel so different, and I really, really enjoyed that. I have a Nightblade. I love playing tanks. That's what I do. And I have a Nightblade tank. It's just so different than my Dragon Knight. One's really has a lot of control. The other one has slow health regeneration. So it's just really fun to play different play styles and just keeps the game fresh. Where leveling, it's just so enjoyable. I just love it. And so for me, the endgame content, Craglorn, I know it just came out. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I just want to play the game and see the story. That's what I've been doing, just sitting back and enjoying it.
Absolutely. It's I love this game. Such a great game. Okay, well, now it's our turn for Tales. First off, since I remembered I wrote a note down saying talk about character changes first instead of wait until the end of our Tales. What level are you, and what have you been doing with your character? Have you changed anything? Got new skills?
I actually don't remember what level I am. I think 47. Okay, I was gonna say 47, but I wasn't sure. So I'm level 47, and I haven't. Oh yes, I have been doing something different with my skill points up until this point. Up until today, actually, I've been sitting on, I don't know, 15, 20 skill points.
Wow.
I just had lots of skill points until today, when I decided that I was gonna put some skill points into passives, because up until today I didn't really have many. So I wound up using all of my skill points. I'm at 0, which makes me kind of sad. I can't remember the last time I was at 0 skill points, into a whole bunch of different passives. I put some in my restoration staff and in my destruction staff. I also put a whole bunch into my sorcerer passives, because I just wanted to see how they worked and everything. I'm sad I didn't realize until about, I don't know, right before we started the podcast. I'm sad that I didn't think about putting passives in my light armor, because that probably really would have helped me to not die and to have more mana. But I didn't think about it in time, so I'm definitely going to be hoarding a whole bunch more skill points so I can do that again. I also put more points into my crafting so that I could, I don't know why, I love crafting skills, so I have way too many points in my crafting skills. And I'm also considering starting to use daggers. I've been thinking about it.
What?
Ooh.
What is that?
I've been thinking about starting to use daggers.
So, wait. Oh, I'm just clearing my head here, everyone. Hold on. This is a big blow to me right now. So, at first of the game, you were all upset, going, if I'm a mage, I should only wear cloth armor. I'm only going to use a staff. And so you're now thinking about using daggers as a sorcerer. And you're wearing What?
Heavy armor.
Uh-huh. Okay. So... Huh.
I have a reason why.
Do tell.
Okay, so I was going to play a Nightblade because I'm all about the sneaky thieves. That's what I love. It's just what I adore, and I didn't make one because there's no way a thief is ever going to pick up a healing staff. And I want it to be your healer because you're kind of a dodo, and I need to heal you.
Is that kind of like how a sorcerer never wears heavy armor or fights with anything but a staff?
When this is over, I'm beating you.
Worth it.
So in my head, I'm thinking, well, I really like being sneaky. And in Skyrim, I was a sneaky mage. That's just who I was. I was a sneaky mage. I had my spells that made me, kind of not visible. And my sneak skill was all the way at max. And I had it so that I had a whole bunch of magic, but I could still use my daggers for like the triple, quadruple the damage when I was sneaking and kill people instantly. So I'm thinking to myself, well, why couldn't I do that in this game? Because I really want to make a kind of shadow mage type character because that's what I enjoy. So then I was thinking, well, why don't I pick up daggers? Then I'd still be able to use my magic. I'd still be able to use the armor that I enjoy, but then I'd still be able to use daggers, and I'd have the health regenerating attacks that they bring with daggers. So I might not die as much. The health, when you attack, they poison, and you can get health back with the dagger skill line. You're giving me a funny look over there. So that was my reasoning behind considering it. I haven't done it yet, but I was thinking about it.
As soon as I get back in the game, I'm making her some daggers. I don't know if you would have the heals in here, but you have Dark Exchange, don't you? Well, that eats your health. Because I don't think that the dual wield skill line has health regeneration in ESO. Am I wrong?
It does have one ability that has health regen.
Oh, the actual dual wield that anyone can pick up, not siphoning strikes from Nightblade, because we're still talking about sorcerers here.
Yep, correct. It's called Blood Craze, I think. Let me look it up right now. But it's you can morph it, and it's a dot, and basically the damage you deal with that returns your health. Let me check real quick. It's I think it's the second ability. Rapid strikes, and then it goes into twin slash. Hold on. Yeah, I'll find it. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I just wasn't sure if actual dual wield, because I know the Nightblade itself has a lot of siphoning type abilities, but daggers on a sorcerer, I didn't know if there was a healing on it at all. But even so, dual wield is really powerful for damage. Plus, you have all your innate spells anyway, such as the OP Crystal Shard, the Lightning Strike. You could be a damage dealing powerhouse with that.
Blood Craze. Blood Craze transfers from the very first ability, Twin Slashes. Damage caused by bleed effects heal you. So it's a dot that heals you.
Nice. Well, there you go. There you go. Well, looks like I'm making daggers when I can get in. I got all my Quicksilver. I can make you daggers.
I haven't thought about it. I haven't confirmed it yet. It's still in the thought process in my mind. It's not confirmed.
Well, then I'll make you a full set of heavy armor, and I will make you some daggers, and they can just sit in your bag, and you can stare at them.
Well, that's really tempting because I do need to update my heavy armor chest piece. It's only level 35, so yeah.
Remind me, we'll get in game, we'll do that. Okay, now my character's a little different. Of course, I still play my Holy Warrior, my Templar, and I did Sword and Shield. Now, part of the thing we'll talk about is we got a special weapon that I've started leveling up my two-handed again because it was getting close to 50. I think right now it's 47 or something like that. So I've been running with a lot of dual wield. But I switched up my bar a little bit. Remember when we were talking about the Resto Warrior last week and updating Cleave? What I've done is I've switched out my ultimate to Crescent Strikes, which is the Adric Spear ultimate ability, I forget what it's called before, but I upgraded Crescent Strikes where the people in the first frontal cone receive an extra 33% damage. Now that's a very low ultimate cost ultimate ability. It's very low. It's probably one of the lowest ones out there, I think. But I morphed my cleave ability to carve. I think it's called carve now, where each person I hit grants me a certain amount of ultimate. Yes, thank you. And my Crescent Strikes fills up within 2 or 3 of this cleave. If I have more than one, if I have 2 or more enemies, it's like 2 or 3 strikes with this, and I can pull off an ultimate, and I can do it again and do another ultimate. I'm right now being a melee powerhouse, and I'm also trying to level up Toppling Charge, which is an Adric Spear ability. It's a charged attack where it's just a charge, but I've morphed it to have the knockdown, so I essentially knock down, cleave, ultimate, cleave, then I put a Sun Shield, cleave again, ultimate, everything's dead. And that's been working out really well for me, especially with my two-hander. Once my two-hander's 50, I'm probably going to put my bow back on and get that to 50 as well. I'm trying to switch the weapons out so they all hit 50, so I have the choice of respecking to them without having to worry about leveling them up at endgame. So that's my current character as he speaks. And of course, he is level 47. His alchemy is almost maxed out. I think he's level 43 or 44 in alchemy. And I hit 39 in blacksmithing, which is the other one that's taken me forever to level blacksmithing, but blacksmithing's a lot of fun.
Ancient elf. You got an ancient elf motif yet?
No, I don't. I have everything except for Ancient Elf, Daedra, and Imperial, because I got Primal. Oh, Barbaric I'm missing. So, Barbaric, Daedric, Ancient Elf, and Imperial. Those are the 4 I'm missing yet. Because someone else in the guild actually gave me a Primal one when they got it, so... Yeah, that was very nice of them. Of course, it made these mad at me for the next, 3 days, so... Next time, I won't say anything.
How dare he get a special one and not me?
Right?
Man, a good husband would have given it to his wife.
No. Okay, so we are continuing our adventures in the Rift, which is my absolute favorite zone in the game so far. I adore the Rift, and when... ZeniMax Hurry Up releases housing, I want my house in the Rift, because I love the Rift. But yeah. So last week we left off around Nimbleton. We had finished up around near that area. That's where we were kind of at. Now, we finished quite a bit of the southern half of Riften this week. We had helped uncover a plot within Nimbleton about the Worm Cult. Seems like the Worm Cult has a huge presence within the Rift, and I know the main storyline themselves kind of follows them in the raising of a big giant evil, who I won't really mention for lack of spoilers, but he is there. We also got to see Iverstead, which is kind of nice to see that, as well as the tomb there, the Shroudhearth Barrow that we went into. Like, I remember going into in Skyrim. Now, this one was markedly pretty big, actually. Shroudhearth, like the actual public dungeon was bigger than most of them. My biggest complaint so far with the public dungeons is the fact they're all very small and linear, with the exception of a handful that I've run across. A lot of the public dungeons are very small and linear, and I hope they change that at some point. Either adding multiple levels to it or something along those lines. But a lot of them are, you start in one area and it kind of loops around, like you see you know what I mean? Like you see a door that you can't get through until you make your all the way around. It's just a big circle. Now, this one was really big though, and I really, really liked it. And of course, being around Iverstead is always exciting, and I like seeing the the throat of the world, even though there's a giant avalanche that keeps you from going up the 7,000 steps. Now, one of the things I thought was kind of cool in the area is, do you remember the wood elf that was squatting in the shed? There was a quest we had where she was squatting in the shed where she's like, "Oh, I'm here all by myself. I'm all so lonely." And then you're like, this is your house? It's a shed. She's like, "What? I don't knock where you live." She's like, "You must protect me from the evil monsters. It's terrible." And she gives you a name. "There's a monster that's facing us that his name is like Gore Reaver. You must go slay him, my champion." So you go over to slay it, and it's like a skeever. A tiny little skeever. So you kill this thing, and you go back to her. She's like, "You have slain Gorefiend. Oh, you are amazing." And then she's like, "But alas, more monsters continue to attack me. You must go take out Blood Scooper," or whatever its name is. So you run over, and it's like a vulture that flew down and then flew off. And she's like, "Did you kill it?" You're like, "Well, no, it was a vulture and it flew away. It was like the size of a grape." She goes, "No, for surely your heroic countenance scared it away." It just cracked me up to find this elf. And like every time you talk to her, one of the options is go report her to the town guards for squatting in the shed. I didn't do it because I thought it was hilarious, but...
Oh, that girl. When you said squatting, I'm thinking of someone actually like squatting in a corner, not squatting as in being where they're not supposed to. All right, well.
Yeah, well, that's what yeah. So that was kind of interesting. That's around the Iverstead area, and it's worth the look. A lot of the other stuff, like, we went and took out another public dungeon called Lion's Den, which I thought was kind of interesting because in the patch notes they talk. This is one of the ones that they've increased the difficulty on, as well as the one in Windhelm. You know what? I love you, ZeniMax. I'm going to say this to you guys. The dungeons you've increased the difficulty on are already the more difficult ones. You know what I mean? Like, Windhelm I thought was insanely difficult. The Hall of the Dead. Lion's Den, we were a little higher level, but the groups of mobs are tight. Like, you could try to sneak around if that's your playstyle, which I like, but when you fight mobs, there's lots of them. There's guards walking around. These big open public dungeons generally are more difficult, and they've buffed them, I guess I should say, to make them more difficult. But I always thought they were the difficult ones. They should increase the ones like we did Fort Greenwall, which was really rather easy. I didn't find that too hard, but that's one they didn't buff. I wonder why. What do you think, Vase?
I don't remember that one. I'm not sure why.
Remember, it was the one where you had to go in and this was a fighters guild area that was taken over by bandits, and then we had that quest where we found the ale, the special ale.
Oh, the ale that I wanted to drink, but you said it's probably not a good idea, which I'm sad that I didn't drink it.
Yes, that one particularly. Why was it so special? You don't remember? Oh, well, when we go to hand it in, the lady was like, "Oh, it's my special new wine that I was working on."
Oh, the reason I'm still sad I didn't drink it, because I think it would have been amazing. But we had to hand in the wine. If you choose not to drink it, you have to turn it in. And she goes, "Oh, this is a special brew that I've been testing. It's so amazing because it instantly replenishes itself." And thinking to myself, well, that sounds quite amazing. You know, alcohol that never dies. It just keeps coming back. And then she goes, "I wonder how it got there. I think someone stole a whole bunch." And then you're left to go find out why it was taken in the first place. And you find her partner. I think it was her partner or her business partner or something. And we talked to him, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I set it out there so that someone could find it, so that the bandits could find it, and they would stop attacking the town." Which is why all these bandits were in this one area, because they couldn't leave. One of the nasty side effect of this wine is that it makes you obsessed with it, so you just want to keep drinking and drinking. And it makes it so that your thirst never dies. And you just keep drinking more and more and more, so these bandits were able to stop attacking.
Right. Now, I thought that was interesting. Now, the story we've been kind of following as we led across the northern section here is the worm cult is attacking and capturing ancient Nord companion spirits of Yskamor's 500. And we had just got done rescuing one of them or two of them or whatever, and now we've been heading south from Nimbleton to talk to Jeroen at Hanrock Tower. Now, there was an interesting story, though, in Nimbleton. Remember, we ran across an old friend who might have been having a little bit of an issue. Do you remember this one? Do you want to say it, or you want me to? Okay. She's over here shaking her head like I should say it. We run across an old friend that we've seen all the way on Bleak Rock Isle at level 1.
I was so excited to see her. So excited, because she had been like a major part of our life at the beginning, and like the whole game is like this personal story that happens to you. So to see this woman, I was so excited. But that didn't last for long.
Indeed. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to cut it there, 'cause something interesting happens with this person. If you're following the tales of the stories and actually watching, this person you'll remember from Bleak Rock and then from Stone Falls, and what happens to her. To see what she's becoming is quite interesting, and I do encourage anyone to pay attention. Specifically pay attention to all the people you talk to on Bleak Rock Isle when you start that quest. Every single one of them. Because they show up throughout the story as you travel along, because depending on who you choose to save or not early on the game, they show up later on to assist or be part of quest or anything of that nature. And you know what's kind of interesting is this person, she was never put in danger because she had a quest later on. So don't feel bad if people die, because it doesn't really cut you off from the story from what I tell, because the people who carry on, such as this person, she was never in danger. She always stayed behind. So that's always kind of interesting. But anyway, so we're fighting our way across the southern section of the Rift, and I'm loving every part of this because I adore the Rift. And of course, now we made it into Riften, and we also visited Skuld's Retreat and helped out the different people there. The main reason why I wanted to mention Skuld's Retreat is because it becomes one of the meaderies in Skyrim that you have to sabotage. Thanks, do you remember sabotaging that? I think you do it for the Thieves Guild. Yeah? She's shaking her head over here. She's not unmuting, but she's shaking her head. So, yeah, that was really, really cool. Now, right now we are kind of right above the southern tip of the Rift, and we're going to start advancing our story further. I think when we logged off at Fulhelm Fort Way Shrine, and we're heading down around that section. If I remember correct, everything on our map is cleared, with the exception of Fulhelm Fort, the Dungeon Blessed Crucible, Broken Helm Hollow, Forholst, which I remember from Skyrim as well. You had to go in there. That's kind of interesting. And Trollitha. Yeah, we had to go. Remember? Do you remember that quest in Skyrim?
We ran into something which was really interesting to me. We were exploring, and we decided that I wanted to go check out what this house was at the top of this hill. So, and I'm like, I don't see a house. What are you talking about? So behind all like these little scattered mountains and up this path, he's leading me. And then he goes, oh, well, now do you see the house? And it's just this gigantic, Nord house. I'm like, oh, awesome, there's the house. And as we walk up, we're thinking, well, I know I'm thinking, who would possibly live here? It's just out in the middle of nowhere. And as we get close to it, you know how when you go to open a door, it tells you like whose house it is or what it is? And it was the house of the Black Briars. And I was super excited because I love Riften. I love everything that happened in Skyrim with Riften and the Rift, and I loved it. So running into such an iconic place from Skyrim was really exciting for me to find this house. And if you look at it, it's almost in the perfect place of where it was. You can look on the map over there. Does it look like it's in the same place? I know we have this giant Skyrim map on our wall. If you can't find it, yeah. Oh, look at that. It's in the perfect place. Ah, so amazing. And I just figured I would share with everybody how happy I was to find this house.
It is always really cool when you find certain things that you remember from the game. That's actually why I'm really interested in seeing the Forholst that you see there. That I guess it's like a little city, because it was a quest within Skyrim. Remember where you had to go retrieve? I forget what the main thing that you're retrieving, but there's a high elf out there dressed as, I think he was dressed in it, the full shaman gear, because at that point in time I had picked to side with the Stormcloak, so he was wearing the bear helm. He's like, oh, we're here fighting for the Stormcloaks. And the first thing I really thought to myself was, why is there an Altmer here? Why is he dressed as a Stormcloak general? Whatever. So I accepted the quest. I went in, you come across the top, and you look down on him, and there's another adventurer who's an Imperial, and he's dressed in an Imperial general, and he's trying to, hey, I need you to go in there and get me this art. He was like just trying to get anyone to go in and do it for him, and he was, it was hilarious to see this happen, so I'm excited to go visit. Yeah, now you remember it? So you get down there and he's like all awkward. He's like, oh, what I'm wearing? Oh, no, this is awkward. Because he's just trying to trick anyone to help him. So that's where we're at now. And we're continuing, finishing out the Rift. We have a few places to go. And then I guess we're off to Cold Harbor. And the culmination of the Ebonheart Pact story, and I guess then we'll have to move on to some veteran rank stuff. On a side note, we also did finish the Mages Guild as well as the Fighters Guild quest lines, and they are really good. Some of the best storylines I think in the game. I don't really want to spoil them because I don't think we mentioned them once, but I recommend people doing them.
The only thing I'm going to say is I was very sad at the ending of the Mages Guild. It was sad. It was very sad. Although, like Ag often says to me, there's nothing in this game that's happy. It's either sad or less sad. But I was very sad.
I will say this for anyone who hasn't finished the Mages Guild. I think this is important because this was actually told to us as well, and I'm not going to give spoilers of what happens, but you are clearly given a choice. And the reason why I want to mention this is because the choice is pretty impacting for your character. He gives you a choice of, I'm not going to say what the choices are, but if you choose one way, you get the standard quest reward. You choose the other way, you get a book that gives you 2 skill points. If you choose one way over the other, if you don't choose the skill points, you lose out on them forever. So subtract 2 skill points from the total points in the game because you can't get them back. So it's definitely a weird thing, but like if you're going to make your choice, make your choice. And I know there's a lot of skill points in the game, approximately 300 or so, but that's a long time. But he does give you a choice of getting 2 skill points or getting a quest reward, and it's really your choice on what you want. So that's what I did want to mention. That was told to us. So when you get to that point and you're making the choice, just note that if you do choose not to take the skill points, you can't get them. They're not awarded to you later by someone else. You know, like someone's like, oh, if you refuse to take something, he's like, fine, I don't care. And then some other guy's like, oh yeah, I heard you talking to him, and I stole it out of his pocket, and here you go. No, you'll lose out on them. So keep that in mind for anyone who's finishing the Mages Guild. And my Khajiit here obviously wants me to pay attention to her because she's jumping on my lap. Alright, but that ends our tales here for this week, so let us move on as I push her out of the way so I can see the show notes. Okay. It's time for the dramatic reading of a book from the Elder Scrolls universe. This week, we will be continuing our series of books from within the Elder Scrolls Online game itself, and we are also continuing with the fourth part of our 8-part series called The Daedric Princes, with the book called The Dream Stride. So, Thais, take it away.
The author of The Dream Stride is anonymous. For over 1,000 years, the priests of Vermina have been masters of the arts of alchemy. The complexity and potency of their mixtures are nothing short of legendary. These alchemical treasures are so highly sought after that a single draught showing up on the black market can command sums in the tens of thousands of septims. Of the numerous potions that have surfaced to date, Vermina's torpor is perhaps the most impressive. A single sip of this viscous liquid places the imbiber in a state known as the dream stride. This condition allows the subject to experience the dreams of another as if they were actually there. The subject becomes an integral part of the dream, behaving as if they belong. To any other entities in this dream state, the subject will be mistaken for the dreamer. The subject will even find his mannerisms, speech patterns, and knowledge expanded appropriately. To an observer, after the subject has imbibed the potion, they will appear to vanish. As the subject traverses distances within the dream, they will also be traversing distances in the actual world. When the torpor's effect has expired, the subject will fade back into reality in the exact location projected within the dream stride. Some dream strides have transported their subjects a few feet, and some have appeared thousands of miles from their origin in a matter of minutes. It's to be noted that the dream stride is highly dangerous and presents the subject with numerous pitfalls. In certain dreams, subjects have been exposed to life-threatening scenarios such as sickness, violence, and even death. In most cases, the subject simply fades back to our world without harm, but in some instances, the subject never reappeared and was assumed to have expired, or the subject reappeared deceased. It's also quite possible that the subject could reappear in a precarious or hazardous location in reality, even though that location appeared safe within the dream stride. Vermina's torpor is as mysterious and elusive as the priests that created it. It's unknown whether this unique transport mechanism is a result of the torpor itself or simply the odd machinations of Vermina, but the potential for using the dream stride to penetrate seemingly impassable obstacles certainly outweighs its mysterious nature.
I love these books. I really do. They are so cool. And I'm glad we're doing these. And I've actually already picked out the next series of books we're doing. So that should be exciting. All right. So we're going to move on to our next section, which is the Community Spotlight. And we have our special guest with us today, and he's actually going to tell us what he is doing within the Elder Scrolls community. So, Del, why don't you go ahead and first off tell us what got you interested in the Elder Scrolls, and then you can tell us what you're doing as part of the community.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks again for having me on. Basically, Elder Scrolls Online, I'm a really big single-player fan, too. And most of us, if you're a gamer, you've probably played Skyrim or something like that. And so I was interested in the game just like anyone else. I played MMOs, just forever. And this sounded interesting because you could actually be a tank, then be a healer, and so on. I was getting tired of playing MMOs and having other people that could heal themselves, and I couldn't, in arenas specifically. And I was like, I want a game where I can do whatever. I'm not stuck doing one thing or not. And so this was a game of trying to do that. I didn't think it could be done. I was wrong, because it is done right. So that's what got me interested in Elder Scrolls. That you're not stuck into one role for an entire time. Also, you can play, one character, experience all the story, all the content, and not have to re-roll and play 30 different alts and, whatever the flavor of the month is for this week. And so that was really attractive to me. So that's why I started playing. I pre-ordered it. Really didn't like the beta, and then I started playing. Everything changed. It was just really fun. It wasn't instance-based like every other MMO is, where you just go out and explore and find quests and stories and feel tied to characters. So I really like that aspect of the game. As far as doing stuff for the community, I just basically published my first video before we got on today. I was big into Star Wars: The Old Republic and did tons of videos, gameplay guides based on PvP. There was a lot of gameplay guides and things for people that were interested in PvE or leveling and so on, but not really anything for the hardcore PvP. So I focused on that. I got out of that because, the meathead stereotype PvPer that we have touched on, it does exist, and it's not just PvP, but I got tired of just the attitude and people freaking out at each other over stuff, and needless to say, I was a part of that too. Well, I wasn't perfect. So I was looking for a game where I could play by myself or pick up and play with friends when I wanted to. So this really fit what I was looking for. I got a serious job where I didn't have all the infinite time I did previously playing Star Wars. So basically, I working with the friends, setting up kind of what our timeline is for publishing stuff, and we're going to look at a week to 2 weeks making guides on everything from weapons to armor. How does your resources regenerate? My first one was a character creation, because I learned the hard way. This game, creating your character is drastically important, meaning what you create determines how effective you're going to be at the end game. So taking some time and planning and preparing what you want to do and why that's important to you is going to save you a lot of pain in the end. So make sure you're checking out my guide. deltiasgaming.com is where I host that stuff. I'm on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook, and all those sorts of things too. But really, I just I like the community. It seems now that the month sub is up, and it seems like people who want to play the game are actually playing it, and it's not just people trashing it and saying, oh, this game's terrible, and the next game's going to be the best thing ever, and so on and so forth. So I'm really enjoying the community. I really am. Found a lot of helpful, friendly people. Right now, I'm leveling, focusing on really understanding the game at some fundamental level so I can be an expert at it. And it's not going to come easy. It's very different from other MMOs. So if you want a traditional MMO, this probably is not the game for you, though it is fun. So really, I just want a game that I can invest a lot of time in, maybe a year or two, if not more, depending on what else is coming out. And I think I'm going to stick with it. I really like it, and there's some bugs and things that are going on with it, but that's to be with every game. So if you're interested in a game that you don't have to re-roll every month because one class gets nerfed, this is the game. If you're interested in a game that has you exploring instead of only being in an instance your whole time, this is the game for you. It has a lot of great features, and so I'm just going to be covering basically how I'm learning the game. I want to teach everyone else, what I found. It may be helpful for some, maybe not others, but I'm really enjoying kind of brainstorming on what I'm going to create in the future. So yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. And I do encourage everyone to go out and give him a follow on Twitter. Go look at his website, YouTube, all that stuff. And Del, I want to say thank you for being an awesome part of the Elder Scrolls community and making this actually a good community to be around. So, excellent. Thank you for coming on the show today. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on to next section, the Guild Spotlight, because it's time for a guild update. As always, if you're interested in joining our friends and family guild for the fans of Tales of Tamriel, you can whisper or send an in-game mail to @Aggelos, that's AGGELOS, or @TierEater, TEAREATER, for an invite to the guild. Also, if you want to PvP with us or against us in Cyrodiil, we are representing the Ebonheart Pact on the Hope's Fire campaign. Okay, so now that the guild spiel is done, we can get into 2 guild events. First off, we talked about it a lot this episode, and we want to get a nice group event going in the future to attempt some Craglorn adventuring. Now, however, currently not even Thais and I are veteran ranked, and So as soon as we notice that we have sufficient amount of people who are VR ranked, we'll do some kind of event for Craglorn. We can go in and we can all adventure together. But for this coming Saturday, that will be May 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing another Cyrodiil PvP event. So everyone come on out and help us try to take some keeps, or prevent us from doing so. I think that'd be kind of interesting. Okay, also as a final note, I'm trying to gauge some interest in a Guild Cyrodiil event where we go out and explore ruins and dungeons. We could do it as a guild, and with everyone auto-leveled to 50, it should be a low barrier of entry for a PvE event, since Craglorn naturally has a very high barrier of entry. I was also thinking of doing an event where we could chain run all the public dungeons, at least on the Ebonheart Pack side, as a guild. So I would love to see if people are interested in that, and if you wouldn't mind sounding off in the comments for this podcast episode on our main website, talesoftamriel.com, and let us know which you would prefer for a guild PvE event, either Cyrodiil exploring or public dungeons for our next guild event. And we'll go with whatever the guildies want to do, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. Okay, emails. We only got one email this week, and I guess, as fate would have it, the one email came from our guest. So, I wrote you a Skype message, but I don't think you saw it. Would you like to read it? Since it is yours? You could read it, and we can answer to it.
1 second. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah, no problem. Because I have it in the I have it in the show notes and stuff of that nature. It's just I put it in here, and then we talked about getting you on the show. So I just think it's kind of funny that we have you on the show.
Yeah,
I don't
talk
like
about
his
it.
letter.
Oh
because
man,
it goes
You
against everything that I say.
Wow.
You just clash with me, you know. That's okay. I respect you.
It is okay.
Hey, no one like. Come on, it's like kind of watching NASCAR. No one watches it if it's a happy race. They all watch it for the crashes. So
That's actually not true. I really enjoy NASCAR, which is strange.
now you had to fight with me on the show just
Oh.
because.
Picking on you.
I did,
All right.
actually.
All right, if you'd read it, that'd be great.
All right, hey gang, great podcast. Wanted to chime in on tanking in ESO. This game has the best tanking system in existence. Why? Normal MMOs, tanking has you standing for 30 minutes, repeat clicking the same 3 or 4 buttons. Once multiple enemies appear, you have to click a different 3 to 4 buttons, and everything automatically respawns. In ESO, you have to be active. You know, actually move out of the red. You have to dodge, attack, block, run for your life, kite, and keep up resources, or you and all of your buddies die. It's not derp face tanking that I'm used to in every other game. I've tanked for pre-made teams and solo PvP at the highest level in other MMOs. I'm not going back to clicking abilities, no blocking style of gameplay. I feel alive because at any moment I can die, possibly due to a misblock, no stamina, before a big incoming attack, or I can't run out of a cleave in time. Keeping aggro is hard, which it should be. Other games you can click one button every minute and the boss attacks you. We have no AoE taunt. It's great. Now tanks have to move off the boss, CC ads, and move around. I can't stop raving about this, the way it makes me feel. By the way, keep up the good work on the podcast.
I thought it was a great opportunity to have the person who wrote the email to read it. So I wanted to throw that in there. But you echo my thoughts exactly for tanking, and obviously you don't echo them for thieves.
See, that's not fair, because Ag, you hated tanking. So you never wanted to tank.
Just because I don't want to tank doesn't mean I don't prefer this kind of tanking.
But in WoW, I tanked for a long time. It wasn't just standing there. I mean, yeah, I didn't really have a button rotation, but I knew the buttons that I had to hit. But my furry bear butt had to move. If I stood still, I would die. That was it. That was just it. I couldn't. I'm just so upset. I couldn't disagree more. Ugh.
Yeah, but you couldn't deny they changed the way threat worked, that as long as you use, like your taunt ability, no one could ever pull off of you ever if you ever got a hit on it. if you didn't get a hit, that's the only time people could pull aggro is if you didn't hit it yet.
It's not entirely true. There were a lot of times I was fighting for aggro because people, my DPSers, weren't watching themselves. I could have tons of aggro. It's also about gear. If they have too much gear, they're more gear than me, higher gear score. I'm obviously going to be fighting for it. But still, I loved that tanking. I could hold 80 different mobs all at once, and I just stood there and growled, roar, because they were all mine. I loved it. In this, it's boring. Only one guy's hitting me, and that's, ugh.
You know what you need to do if you want to get that feeling back? Make a Dunmer, Dragon Knight, Vampire, rank it to VR10, and then go into PvP. Then you can hold 80 guys by yourself and still win.
Sounds like a good idea.
Excellent. All right. Well, that was actually a lot of fun to have that. So, it's time for our final thoughts for the show. And let everyone know where they can follow us again. So, Thies, why don't you go ahead and give us your final thoughts for the show?
Okay. This has been my favorite show thus far. Because I loved the opposing thoughts between myself and Deltia. It was so much fun being able to just to fight with them, playfully fight with them. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
You mean PvP with him?
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
I think I might barf a little.
King of bad puns right here. I don't care.
I love you so much, Egg. All right. But yeah, it was definitely my favorite show so far. It's just so amazing, great show, and I got to vent a little bit. Just although there's probably a bunch of fans who are probably shaking their heads, going, "Oh, stupid girl," but it was good.
Excellent. And our guest, Elle, why don't you give us your final thoughts? Also, tell us where people can follow you. Again, we'll reiterate that.
Yeah, DeltiaIsGaming.com is my blog, and then everything basically Deltia is Gaming at Twitter and YouTube and all that sort of thing. I will reiterate, it was a lot of fun. I like the different opinions, and they're very far from mine, which is okay. It's interesting to see what other people value and why that's important to them, and basically understand that, you know, games are different for all of us. What one gets out of it versus the other one is just so completely different, and we should respect each other for that. And, you know, I'm completely fine with it. I think this game has a really good player base, and I'm sticking around with it because I'm happy with what's coming. The graphics are amazing. They do a lot of improvements, and it's, you know, the quality of the game is improving. So as long as that's happening, I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Okay.
I forgot to mention that you can find me in game at Tear Eater. So that's TEAREATEER.
Appropriately, right?
Yep, that's right. And Del, why don't you spell out your Twitter thing so people can see it? Because I've been butchering your name all day.
That's okay. It's DELTIAS Gaming, GAMING. So Deltia is basically, I'm kind of dyslexic, and so I misspelled Final Fantasy Tactics character from like a million years ago. And I just kind of stuck with the name, and so that's how I got Deltia. And so every MMO I played or whatever, that's kind of my name. So hopefully I haven't pissed anyone off that's on this podcast, but I'm trying to improve my behavior, so stick with me.
It was awesome to have you on the show. We had a great time. It was awesome. So I do want to thank both my co-hosts for joining me this evening. As clap, yes. As for myself, I did have a fun time with the show. The discussion topic was heated, and it was good, and I liked it. Because like you said, we're all different. The best part about MMOs, and this is true, the best part about MMOs is they bring lots of different types of gamers together because a good MMO has different things to do. The reason why World of Warcraft is so popular and is such a good game, other than the fact that I don't like their changes, and I will disagree with what they're doing in their expansion like crazy, but the main reason they are so popular is because they cater to the hardcore PvE crowd, the hardcore PvP crowd, the Battlegrounds crowd, both the rated Battlegrounds and the normal, the casual side. Like Battlegrounds non-rated are for casual PvPers. LFR, I was going to get to that. LFR is for the casual PvEers. Pet battling is for every 12-year-old Japanese girl that is missed out playing Pokemon.
Or for Thais.
Or for Thais. Exactly. But that, even though it doesn't interest me, even though I did it for the achievement points because I am an achievement whore, it did attract quite a few people to the game just because they wanted to do that. And that right there is what makes a good MMO, having a lot to do. When you log in, you shouldn't go, okay, I'm logging in to do this. You should log in with the idea is you're logging into a virtual world, kind of like waking up in the morning going, what am I going to do today? And if ESO can add in some different stuff to make this a game that where we log in going, not, okay, I'm going to go grind veteran ranks or I'm going to go fight in Cyrodiil, and that's all I have. It should be, what am I going to do in Tamriel today? That should be the question. And I think they're definitely in the right area. They can improve, as every game can. I mean, even the long-standing Mammoth World of Warcraft can improve. But yeah, they just need to keep on this track, and this will be an amazing game with an amazing community. So, I want to thank everyone for listening to this podcast. If you wish to help support the podcast, feel free to donate via the PayPal link on our website. If you wish to contact us with questions, comments, criticisms, anything like that, the website for our show is talesoftamriel.com, or you can email the show at podcast@talesoftamriel.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at Tales of Tamriel, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tales of Tamriel podcast. Also, feel free to rate and subscribe to us via iTunes. This helps us out so much, guys, and we appreciate everyone who's given us 5-star reviews and stuff like that on iTunes. It's amazing. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of Tales of Tamriel. Have a great night, everyone.